does India look like at 100? What does it mean to build a nation? And who gets to do it? We're glad you're here for this conversation.
As the Sanskrit saying goes,
Nahi jnanena sadrisham, pavitramiha vidyate.
there is nothing in this world as pure as knowledge. We gather today to summon exactly that essence.
In ancient times, a colloquium was a space where thinkers and philosophers came together, not just to speak, but to think, to debate, to be changed by one another. That is the spirit we carry into this room.
The word confluence refers to the meeting point of two rivers, where distinct streams unite to create something greater than themselves. Inspired by exactly this idea, the confluence bridges the gap between media, public policy, and the youth.
The Confluence Colloquium is presented in association with Ahmedabad Management Association. Our broadcast partner is VTV News, and our documentation partner is Mainframe Multimedia. We are grateful for their support in making this evening possible. We request everyone to turn off their mobile phones so that we can have a hassle-free evening.
We are honored to have with us this evening the Ahmedabad Management Association, an institution that has long championed professional excellence and intellectual dialogue in Gujarat. To formally open this evening, may I request Mr. Unmesh Dikshit, Executive Director of AMA, to please come upon stage.
Thank you very much. At Ahmedabad Management Association, we have always kept on a thrust that this association and activity belongs to the future citizens, and that is youth. And for youth, I have always understood one thing from all the stalwarts who are going to share their experience today, is that today's youth is not useless, but used less. So we are happy to collaborate with Rajvi and her team, and likewise many other youth who have been a part of AMA and its activity. This is your platform, and may you all grow, shine, and lead the nation tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Welcome to all the guests, Ajay sir, Purva Guru Mantri Shri Chiranjeev Bhai, Jhaveri Sahib, Jai Thadeshwar, and Rajvi, all yours. Welcome to you all the youth, and do come frequently and do share your feedback or your wants that what AMA should do for you, as this platform belongs to you. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving forward in our tradition, we begin every auspicious endeavor with light, for it is light that drives away ignorance and ushers in wisdom.
May I request the pleasure of Shri Umnesh Dikshit, Shri Pradeep Singh Jadeja, Shri Ajay Umat, Shri Chiranjeev Patel, and Shri Varun Jhaveri and Shri Jai Thadeshwar to join us on stage to light the lamp.
गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगु हवामहे प्रियानान्त्वा प्रियपतिगु हवामहे निधीनान्त्वा निधिपतिगु हवामहे वसो मम आहमजानि गर्भदमा त्वमजासि गर्भदम्मा चंद्रमा मनसो जातश्चक्षोः सूर्यो अजायत श्रोत्राद्वायुश्च प्राणश्च मुखादग्निरजायत नाभ्या आसीदन्तरिक्षगु शीर्ष्णोद्यौः समवर्तत पद्भ्या भूमिर्दिशः श्रोत्रात् तथा लोका अकल्पयन्
Before we proceed, we'd like to take a moment to share with you what the Confluence really is and why the colloquium exists.
Many citizens live under policies they neither fully understand nor actively engage with. The confluence seems to bridge this gap, bringing media, public policy, and youth into the same conversation and transforming awareness into participation and participation into impact. This evening's colloquium is the first step in that journey.
Every initiative begins with a person who refuses to wait, who decides to build the table rather than to wait for a seat on it. The confluence began with exactly that kind of a conviction.
Rajvi Devi Gohil, founder of the Confluence and a student at Ashoka University, envisioned the platform as an outcome of the ideals of liberal education, interdisciplinary inquiry, and meaningful public engagement. She believes that India's future will be shaped not in isolation, but at the intersection of ideas, institution, and people.
What began as an idea in a dorm room has now evolved into a growing movement dedicated to ensuring that young people are not merely observers of the change, but active participants in shaping India.
For Rajvi Devi, the confluence is not merely an initiative. It is an enduring commitment to creating spaces where conversation inspires action. Leadership is rooted in purpose, and ideas translate into meaningful impact. May I please request the founder of the confluence, Ms. Rajvi Devi Gohil, to please come upon the stage to share a few words.
Thank you, Dev and Mihika, for these wonderful words. I would take this moment to do a vote of thanks for all of the people that are here today in this room. For me, the idea of the confluence started back in Ashoka 6 months ago in my dorm room at night. I was talking with my roommate and I said, Ahmedabad jaake 4 mahine kuch to karna hai. But what is the gap that we're trying to fill? Ahmedabad still is socio-politically ahead. Gujarat is a major business hub. But what we don't have and what we still might lack a little is a productive policy discourse culture. This is what the confluence is trying to sow a seed of. A productive policy discourse in Ahmedabad where professionals and experts of all fields, journalism, media, diplomacy, governance, innovation, expertise in business, all of those find a platform. And where young people like you and me, can have a moment where we can learn from them and where we can actually understand how policies are made and how they actually apply. Thank you so much for coming here. I would like to thank my father, my mother, my grandparents, my both grandparents, Nani Ma, Nana Bapu, Ma, Bapu, all of you who are in here in this room. It means a lot to me. And thank you to AMA, Unmesh sir, Chiranjeev sir, Pradeep Mama, Ajay Umat sir, Varun sir, and Jay sir for making this possible. And most importantly, thanking Adit Sheth, who has been a guiding light and a mentor to me throughout. Each question and answer, I've called him at 12 a.m. At night, kept him up, and just budged him with questions. Thank you so much, everyone. And may this be a wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Our first felicitation this evening is for a leader whose work at the Ahmedabad Management Association has created meaningful platforms for professionals and young people alike. May I request Darsh Vyas from the Confluence and Mr. Unmesh Sir and invite Sri Unmesh Dikshit, the Executive Director of AMA, to please come upon the stage. One of Gujarat's most respected voices in media, our next guest has spent decades asking the questions that matter.
A senior journalist of immense credibility and stature, Dr. Ajay Umat has established himself as one of the most respected Indian journalists. Today, as the group editor of Ahmedabad Mirror and Nav Gujarat Samay, he continues to uphold the highest standards of journalism and public discourse.
May I please request Arjun Thakkar from the Confluence and Unmesh Sir from AMA to kindly present the felicitation and invite Sri Ajay Umat to please come on stage.
A recipient of numerous prestigious honors, including the Harendra Dave Smurti Paritoshik, Tushar Bhatt Award for Excellence in Journalism, D.D. Girnar Award, Chitralekha Award, and the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian Journalists Union. Dr. Umat's contributions extend far beyond the newsroom.
A mentor to generations of journalists, a sought after public intellectual, and a scholar currently pursuing a doctoral research at Nirma University, Dr. Ajay Umat truly represents the values of informed citizenship, fearless journalism, and democratic responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Ajay Umat. A name synonymous with public service and grassroots connection, our next guest brings to this stage a lifetime experience of understanding what India's people truly need.
An entrepreneur, philanthropist, mentor, and institution builder, Sri Chiranjeev Patel serves as the managing director of PC Snehal Group of Companies and has dedicated his life to building enterprises that generate both economic and social value.
May I please request Kalp Upadhyay from the Confluence and Unmesh Sir from AMA to kindly present the felicitation and invite Sri Chiranjeev Patel to please come upon the stage.
Through his acclaimed Rupees 1 mentorship program, Mr. Patel has guided and inspired hundreds of aspiring entrepreneurs, nurturing enterprises founded on ethics, innovations, and impact. Globally recognized for his visionary leadership, he holds the distinction of being only the second Gujarati to address the United Nations General Assembly and has also represented India at the House of Commons and the House of Lords in the United Kingdom.
As founder trustee of Karma Foundation, he continues to champion transformative initiatives in education, women empowerment, healthcare, entrepreneurship, and community. More than a businessman, Sri Chiranjeev Patel is a nation builder committed to creating institutions, generating employment, and inspiring purposeful leadership.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a heartfelt round of applause to Sri Chiranjeev Patel. If ideas shape nations, those who research, refine, and train leaders to implement them play a vital role in that journey. Our next guest has been at the forefront of strengthening policy thinking and political leadership in India.
May I request Sir, an alumnus of the wondrous Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, Mr. Javeri has contributed significantly to the landmark national initiatives including Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana and India's National Digital Health Mission.
May I request Aditya Karania from the Confluence and Unmesh Sir from AMA to kindly present the felicitation and invite Sri Varun Javeri to please come upon the stage.
Currently serving as the National In Charge for Policy, Research and Training at Bharatiya Jan Yuva Morcha and Managing Partner at Evernile Capital, Mr. Javeri continues to bridge public policy, investment and innovation. His remarkable contributions have earned international recognition, including being named United Nations Sustainable Development Goalkeeper by the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation and being invited by President Barack Obama himself as young changemakers.
Through his work, Sri Varun Javeri exemplifies how informed leadership, innovation, and public service can together contribute to building a stronger India. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm and enthusiastic welcome to Sri Varun Javeri, sir.
Building the future requires more than innovation. It requires curiosity, conviction, and the courage to take risks. Our next guest has brought all those qualities together as an entrepreneur, investor, and storyteller.
Sri Jay Thadeshwar is an entrepreneur, podcaster, public affairs commentator, and strategic communication leader who has consistently worked at the intersection of entrepreneurship, governance, geopolitics, and nation building. Through his long form podcasts and digital platforms, he has engaged some of the country's most prominent policymakers, cabinet ministers, business leaders, geopolitical experts, spiritual leaders, and cultural icons in thoughtful and meaningful public conversation.
May I request Ananya Shah from the Confluence and Umnesh Sir from AMA to kindly present the felicitation and invite Shri Jay Thadeshwar.
In the last year alone, his content has generated over 600 million views across digital platforms, reaching hundreds of thousands of young Indians and encouraging informed public discourse on issues of national importance. Beyond his digital influence, he is also the founder of Poised Media, a leading strategic communication firm through which he has helped more than 500 businesses globally build impactful narratives, strengthen brand positioning, and shape public perception.
With over a decade of entrepreneurial leadership and a deep commitment to connecting the youth, leaders, and ideas, Mr. Thadeshwar continues to contribute meaningfully to conversations surrounding India's development, journey, and future aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm and enthusiastic welcome to Shri Jay Thadeshwar.
With the cadre of guests that we have this evening, it was only possible that today and now at this moment we should unveil the official founding charter of the Confluence. Can we have the charter, please? I would request the entire team Confluence to please come up on the stage and the speakers to join us for the unveiling of the charter with their Shubh start.
And now, finally, we arrive at the heart of this evening.
6 speakers, 1 question. India at 100. What does Viksit Bharat mean for governance, for media, for enterprise, and for the youth? There is no easy answer here. That's exactly why we're asking them.
May I request our moderator, Ms. Rajvi Devi Gohil, to please join our esteemed guests as we begin the Confluence Colloquium.
Thank you so much, Mihika and Dev, for this wondrous introduction that you've given. And you've raised the spirits of this evening. And thank you so much to Jai sir, Chiranjeev sir, Ajay sir, and Varun sir to be here with us and taking time out. So, when we talk about Viksit Bharat, let's start with Jai sir, who is the youngest here. Viksit Bharat. Is it? Yes. Oh, I wasn't sure quite of the ages, but yes, Viksit Bharat 2047 is often discussed as a government initiative nowadays. Yes, Viksit Bharat 2047 is often discussed as a government initiative nowadays, but for it to truly succeed, it must be a citizen mission and it should be a national mission at that. Something that transcends politics and something that should outlast the governments. Regardless of whoever is in power, India's development will ultimately depend on the mindset of the people and ultimately about the actions of the people. If you had to identify one shift in the Indian mindset, not a policy, not a scheme, but a shift in the Indian mindset, what do you think would it be, and what do you think it is necessary to prepare the citizens of this country for 2047 and what lies ahead?
Sure. Very interesting question. First of all, thank you so much and congratulations for organizing such an amazing evening. So first of all, when we say that India is going to be a Viksit Bharat or fully developed by 2047, if you say this in the wrong room where you don't have a lot of patriots, somebody would call it stupid, right? And I welcome it because that's exactly how big the dream should be. Every dream that became history sounded stupid, when first it was spoken. So I'm grateful to our Honorable Prime Minister for daring to dream that India will be developed and giving this aspiration to 140 crore Indians. Now, coming to the mindset of Indians that need to change for us to truly become developed, right? So we need to start acting like the owners of the country and not the consumers of the country. Right now, most of the Indians are acting like consumers, right? We come from a society where we have spotless homes, right? We behave nicely in homes. We treat our elderly as nice, but the moment we step out of our houses, right, we would litter on street. We would not pedestrians, we would not let pedestrians go. We would not respect the elderlies. So that needs to change. We need to, because the mindset is that the house is my own, the street belongs to the government. No, the whole country belongs to me. That is the kind of ownership that needs to change in the minds of people, right? And Indians should think, as my elder brother always tells me, that we should think not what country has done for me, but what I can do for the country or what I have done for the country. Let's say if we are living in a house which is rented, and if something goes off or something is broken, right, we would call the owner to fix it. But if you own the house, you would fix it yourself. So we need to start fixing the problems that we see around. And this applies to people across different classes of society and different levels and different stakeholders of the ecosystem, be it government, be it bureaucrats, be it politicians, be it civilians. Everybody needs to start thinking that we own this country and it is our responsibility to make it work. When Singapore got its independence, the first prime minister, before the skyscrapers came up, he ran relentless campaigns. Do not spit, do not litter, be courteous, be good to elderlies, right? And everybody was mocking him. And you know what he said? He said a first world country cannot be built with third world mindset. So I need to change the mindset of the people first. Before my country upgrades, the mindset of the people need to upgrade. And I think that is the upgrade that we need in 140 crore people. And once that shift happens, it compounds amazingly. Imagine 140 crore people feeling the ownership of the country with progressive mindset, with willingness to do something for the country and doing it for the next 20 years. How does the India look like in 2047? Amazing, right? Fully developed, it is possibility. So that mindset, I think, is something that we need to change.
Definitely, I think I really agree with what you said. અગર આપણે collective ownership ની વાત કરીએ તો જે લોકોમાં જે જન તાકાત છે એ જો આપણે એક સાથે ઊભા કરીને આવું કરીએ તો I'm sure India, there's a long road ahead to 2047, but the road will be much quicker and much more efficient.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Next, someone who's an expert on policy and has been leading so much. Let's go to Mr. Varun Javeri. I think the challenge for Viksit Bharat is not just simply economic transformation. It is getting 1.4 billion people to believe that they are part of the same story. आपने जो collective ownership की बात करी. There's a famous saying that goes that justice should not only be served, it should also be felt. Many young Indians, when they hear about Viksit Bharat, they are curious about what happens in the rooms behind where policies are made. When the government thinks about Viksit Bharat 47, what questions does it have in the mind when they're framing a policy? I would also like to ask, how does one ensure that development is inclusive, both in the approach and its outcome? And how do we build a collective ecosystem where the youth and the citizens of this nation feel that they are part of a national story, that they are the ambassadors of Viksit Bharat, and they're not just part of some development that is being going on? How does that exactly happen?
uh, you know, before I take that very loaded question, let me just take a pause here and just express how happy I am, because Ahmedabad happens to be my home city, and I'm so thrilled to see a policy, dialogue, a policy conversation happening here. It seems like, the clock has moved. This is the land of some of the greatest legislators of the country. Sardar Patel, some of the greatest thinkers, KM Munshi, of course Mahatma Gandhi, and of course our beloved, honorable Prime Minister. I think for very long, what we were also discussing is that Ahmedabad, of course, has a very vibrant culture, and I think now we have, really found a lot of policy dialogue, and I'm super happy that this is actually being organized by the young people. I was very happy to see, probably the most young person who is sitting there, who is now busy on his cell phone. But I'm really happy to see that, all of you have come together and brought this up. So, congratulations on that. uh, when we talk about, so it's a, very multi-layered question, but if I have to really focus on policy, because that is, one part where I've got, some good fortune to see it really close. If I have to just, start by saying what is a public policy, right? I think that is a big question that one needs to really understand. So if you look at a public policy, it is as simple as, a set of guidelines or a set of rules of implementing like a very big project. It is as plain and it is as simple as that, right? But the simplicity does not really reflect the grandiose and the grand task, because as a country we are so diverse. Like every 50 kilometer that you grow, a dialect changes, the food changes, the culture changes. So it is so difficult to make a public policy which will really be applicable for every single citizen of the country. So when you are trying to make a policy, you need to think about someone who is staying in, Ladakh in like minus 20 degrees, to someone who is going to stay in Lakshadweep, without internet. So you need to think about the entire diversity. To give you a real example, right? I actually want all of you to, think about this, is how many of you have used a toilet, right, which was not like a pakka toilet, and you have actually gone to a farm and did your business, to put it crudely. You can just raise your hand. How many of you have ever done that in your entire life? Yeah, so probably like 10 or 11 of you, right? And what I'm going to say is the reality of how important is public policy. Think about that, is that in this entire room, I think we have like close to around 250, 300 folks. Only 5 or 6 of you had actually used a kacha toilet. Everyone else, including myself, right, we have only used pakka toilets, and in nowhere we used to ever think that there is a problem like that, because we have never seen one. We have never seen a problem of not having a house. We have never seen a problem of not able to go to school. We have never seen a problem of not able to access a toilet. But the hard reality is that before 10 years, and this is not a very, time that I'm talking, before 50 years, 12 crore households, which means close to 50 crore citizens in this country, after independence, did not even have access to a toilet. Think about how important are these basic issues, the fundamental issues, and how important is public policy for them. So when we are thinking about public policy, and the question that you asked, that how we need to look from the Viksit Bharat lens, I think first thing that we need to put in place is what are these basic common needs of the citizens that are not getting addressed. How to really solve fundamental problems. I always keep saying that there are two ways, and all developments are between these two guidelines. One is the fundamentals, which is your housing, toilets, food security, insurance, health insurance, and second is your aspirational, AI, privatization, a lot of manufacturing. So everything that happens between two guardrails. So if you have to think about the Viksit Bharat part, the idea is that how quickly can we solve for fundamentals, and how can we quickly move some of the aspirational things into the fundamental things. The idea behind the Viksit Bharat is going to be, how do we understand the happiness intent, the basic fundamental life of a citizen, and how do we solve for that? There are so many things that have happened, but this is the basic idea, that how to make India more happy, and how to understand the basic needs of the citizens and cater for them. Right now, what is basic will not be that much basic, let's say 10 years down the line. In 1960s or 1970s, probably a car was an aspirational, but now it has become a basic need. So the idea is that how do you keep moving along with that? I think once we have that mindset, then we'll become a Viksit Bharat, not only in the way the countries, but even the way the policies are being made. So this is a type of a layer that I particularly associate a Viksit Bharat with.
Definitely, definitely. I think looking at the grassroots, India major development થયું છે in the last 10 years is just brilliant. And owing to policy and brilliant minds at national level, આપણે આ change જોઈ રહ્યા છે. Moving forward, the next question is to Ajay Umat sir. I think media plays a very important role in shaping narratives and how a public perception is formed on a koi incident થાય, which is a incident that we wouldn't expect. એના પર પછી public discourse કેવી રીતે આગળ વધે છે? So I think my next question to you will be, since we have a crowd full of students, I'll go towards a NEET controversy. For millions of students, the debate was not just about one exam that sort of went wrong because of the leaking. The larger problem was about the trust in the system in itself. કે હવે આપણે શું કરશું? So this raises a larger question for me and for a media perspective.
You are referring NEET exam.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So can a bad narrative undermine confidence in a good policy? And can a strong narrative sustain faith in a flawed one? એટલે આજકાલ 3 સેકન્ડના રીલનો જે જમાનો છે, એમાં 300 પેજના પોલિસી ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ આજકાલના આપણે કોઈ વાંચવાના નથી. તો how much influence do you think then media, vernacular media, Gujarati media, all local media channels and their narratives have on public discourse? અને આપણે કેવી રીતે, how do we cater to the role of young citizens in creating an informed public discourse?
You very rightly said that, her questions are very multi-layered. So Rajvi has a habit of, throwing her net very, very wide. Huh? Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'll go question by question the next
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. No issues, no issues. Today I am on the other side. I am habituated to ask question on this side. Pradeep Siji knows it very well. But before I start, as he has very rightly said, I am in the field of journalism for almost 40 years. And when you were not born also, Rajvi. And to tell you honestly, I did not believe you when you came to invite me, because I thought that, a girl from Asoka University, must be sitting in her dome and, doing armchair analysis and coffee table discussion, that, we must have this idea. But today I am complimenting you, congratulating to you by remembering Victor Hugo, that what you are doing is an idea whose time has come. And while, having a cup of tea, we were discussing that, this is for the first time that in Ahmedabad, I am seeing, almost 250, 30 people thinking of, policy, which is a rarest of the rare thing that I am witnessing. The reason I am telling you that, when I was student, I used to read Amartya Sen, who was talking about, Indians, that, Indians are argumentative Indians. My Vice Chancellor, Lord Bikhu Parekh in Baroda, he wrote a book about, debating India. And he said that, in a democracy, You must have dialogue, debate, discussion, even, disagreement. Okay, dissent. That is the beauty of democracy. And our culture also says that, vade vade jaite tattva bodha. That is what that girl was talking in the initially. And a beautiful thing, was narrated by Dixit. I don't know where he is. He said, youth in India is not useless, but they are used less. That reminds me, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first speech, where he said that, India need to take advantage of demographic dividend. And why I'm saying this, what he has said was endorsed by Thomas Friedman when I was traveling with Prime Minister, and that was the second biggest summit in New York after Second World War. And where, Thomas Friedman, one of the finest economists of the world, Pulitzer Prize winner, Nobel winner, and he told all of us Indian journalists, he said, when I was a young boy, and when I was not eating properly on my dining table, my father and mother used to tell me, okay, Tom, please finish your food. You don't know, people in India, they are starving. I and Pradeep Singh ji can relate that, or the senior citizen, that, we were borrowing PL 480 wheat. Huh? That, America, we used to, because, India was not having, there was no question of food security. We were, starving of food. From that journey today, we are uh, crossing an era of green revolution, and today, we are an economy of food surplus. So if you think of that journey, today when you are talking about NEET exams, I am definitely, I wish to tell you that there is a trust deficit, or there is a lack of trust in the examination system. And NEET is not only an examination, where paper leakage has happened, and that has created a lot of anger, dissatisfaction, or, sometime at extreme level, girls and boys, young boys and girls, they commit suicide also. More than 14 young boys and girls have committed suicide out of frustration. So my personal observation or take is that, we need to fix responsibility why this is happening, and this is not for the first time. It is happening in many such examinations. But my another question, why no paper leakage is happening in IIT or in IIM or in UPSC, or, no one can leak the name that who will become chief minister in Maharashtra or in Madhya Pradesh or in Rajasthan, because, system in BJP or in these exams are very, very robust. Now re-NEET took place, and Prime Minister himself had taken responsibility that this time I am taking responsibility. I would have advised him not to do it, because, he was virtually putting his career at stake. Because today everybody is blaming Dharmendra Pradhan. If anything would have gone wrong, people would have blamed Prime Minister also. But he took a risk. And I personally believe that, biggest risk in life is not to take risk. So take risk. So he has taken that risk, and he has proved himself that, he is a leader with that mentor. But the problem is that, you are talking about, 30-second reels. The problem is that, in this room also, if you see that there is a difference between, digitally native and digitally immigrant. I am not a digitally native. I am a digital immigrant. When I started my career, I used to go to Hansa Mehta Library and study, Encyclopedia Britannica. Today, you people are using, Wikipedia. You don't, use or Chat GPT. So this Gen Z who has born after, 97 to 2012, they are very, very much, uh, what do you call, they are born with silver spoon and tech savvy. Now, but this digital native people, who are born in an era of, this magnificent seven, when I'm using the word, with a sense of responsibility, who are this magnificent seven? They are controlling 40% economy of the world, and they are the one who are making narratives of the world. They decide, how the global policies would work. India may do whatever they want to do best. If a war will take place between America and Iran, we all have to suffer price rise and everything, inflation and everything. The point I am making is that these tech giants you are referring to, whether it is Amazon or Google or Meta or Apple or Nvidia or Mr. Elon Musk, SpaceX, these people are virtually ruling the world, and they decide, what narrative will take place, because, what they are serving, with this YouTube or TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram or with Facebook, they decide the narrative. And because of that, 30-second things, they are not bothered about the future of Indian students. They are bothered about how they will answer to their stakeholders in Wall Street. The reason is that they are in the business of engaging you more. They do not want you to have a perspective. They do not want you to study in detail. And that's the reason that our generation was reading newspaper. As a newspaper editor, I have to write very, very responsibly what I am writing, because the point I am making is that today if I write anything wrong, Pradeep Singh ji is sitting here as a legal expert, I am going to face defamation case or criminal libel or slander or any other things. But on social media you can write anything and get away. I'll give you an example. Sumitra Mahajan, 7-time elected member parliament from Indore and speaker of the Lok Sabha erstwhile. Somebody wrote on social media that she is no more. And Shashi Tharoor sitting at Delhi airport, she thought, I should give an obituary. So he paid wonderful obituary, and he took a flight to Trivandrum. And in 2.5 hours, more than 3 million people had given tribute to Madam Sumitra Mahajan, and she had gone there only for some gastric problem, and she had to come out from hospital and say, no, I am perfectly all right. Now, Massachusetts Institute Technologies report says that bad news travel 600 times more than the real news. આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં કહીએ છીએ કે પેલું સત્ય છે ને એ એમ કે હજુ મોજા પહેરે ને ત્યાં સુધી જૂઠ છે ને અડધી પૃથ્વીની પ્રદક્ષિણા કરીને પાછું આવે છે. That is the problem. The root cause is that there is no skill upgradation, there is no fact check. Nobody fact check. There is no pause. You simply like something which is emotionally connecting to you, you simply forward it. And that is the root cause that nobody is taking their content is serious. Content is king, but Lord Google is a god. So God is deciding what I and you will decide. That is the problem. We need to have some policy regarding this, that content moderation should be done. Our constitution says that we all have freedom of speech, but at the same time 19.2 says that there are reasonable restrictions. So we all should follow those reasonable restrictions. But those people who are using WhatsApp or ChatGPT or YouTube and other things, they say that they believe in America, that they have First Amendment, which says that Congress shall make no rule which can control your freedom of speech, expression, information, and freedom of press. That means they can say anything, which is not true. So content moderation and content regulation is the need of the hour. If this happens, I think all these problems will be solved. And so far as NEET is concerned, there is a need of hour that you should establish not having an ostrich kind of mentality that nobody will answer. There should be a transparency, there should be an accountability. By taking re-examination does not mean that you will get away. So responsibility should be fixed. I think problem will be solved.
સાહેબ
Thank you.
રાજવી આગળના સવાલ પર જાય મારો તમને થોડું this is very important because મીડિયાની વાત કરીએ તો મીડિયા is like the fourth pillar, the most important thing in our daily life. આપણી સવાર ત્યારથી પડે છે અને ઊંઘ્યા ત્યાં સુધી આપણે હવે મીડિયામાં જુદા જુદા પ્લેટફોર્મ પર સ્ક્રોલ કરીએ છીએ. આ ઇન્ફોર્મેશન બધા પાસે હશે છતાંય ફરીથી સમજાવું છું. We live in a country where we have 900 plus news channels અત્યારે. 17,000 થી વધારે આપણી પાસે ન્યૂઝપેપર્સ છે અને 80 કરોડ લોકોથી વધારે પાસે સ્માર્ટફોન છે આપણા દેશમાં અને 100 કરોડ કરતા વધારે નંબર છે ઇન્ડિયામાં મોબાઈલના. હવે એ લેવલનો ઇન્ફોર્મેશન ફ્લો હોય અને છતાંય સાહેબ હું એક કન્ઝર્વેટિવ ફિગર કહું છું, વધારે હશે, 5,700 લોકો કોવિડમાં ખોટી ઇન્ફોર્મેશનના લીધે એડમિટ થઈ ગયા બીકોઝ એ જાતે ગભરાઈ ગયા અને ડિપ્રેશનમાં આવી ગયા અને એટલા બધા મિસઇન્ફોર્મેશન સ્પ્રેડિંગમાં હતા કે એમાંથી કેટલાય લોકો actually they passed away due to just the dar of COVID, what will happen. And this is not about the second wave, this is between the first wave and second wave.
Fear factor.
આપણા દેહ fear factor ક્યાંથી આવ્યો? મીડિયાથી આવ્યો. તમે સુમિત્રા મહાજન મેડમનું કીધું, આવા કેટલાય રોજના ન્યૂઝ આપણે પોતે ફોરવર્ડ કરી દઈએ છે ને આપણને ખબર નથી પડતી. તો પોલિસી લેવલ ત્યાં બહુ જ જરૂરી છે સાહેબ. અને રાજવીએ તો કદાચ એનું કામ કરી લીધું આપણને લોકોને અહીંયા ભેગા કરીને. આપણે લોકો જેટલા લોકો અહીંયા બેઠા છે ને એ આપણું કામ પૂરું કેવી રીતે પાડીશું એ મારો રાજવીને સવાલ હતો કે આ કમ્યુનિટીનું તો એને આજે ઉદ્ઘાટન કરી દીધું ચેપ્ટરનું આપણને she gave us a charter but are we ready to become a part of that community like Varun said that this is so brilliant to see Ahmedabad coming in a room like this but are we open to a two-way conversation આજે એની શરૂઆત કરવી છે અને આપણે એ કમ્યુનિટીના પાર્ટ થવું છે એ નક્કી કરવાનું બહુ જરૂરી છે because if we are not able to speak our mind if we are not able to come and participate if we don't go home and do our job I think there is a major gap and that's where the entire system of media and public policy and that gap rises. I'm so sorry.
No. You are absolutely right. You know, what you said is a music to my ear. As an editor of print media, for example, Ahmedabad Mirror and Nav Gujarat Samay, I want that, you know, there should be some, policy should be there, you know, by which you can do, you know, misinformation, disinformation and malinformation. So the example which I had given about Sumitra Mahajan is a misinformation. Okay, nobody had intention to kill her. But the point, disinformation. For example, you know, most of the Indian media has said that, you know, India has captured Karachi during Operation Sindoor. Some of them have also said that, you know, tomorrow morning we'll have breakfast in Islamabad. Now that was, you know, disinformation. So during pandemic or corona, after pandemic came infodemics. That is a new terminology that Amartya said. We are all suffering from infodemics, and infodemics is more dangerous than this pandemic.
સાહેબ
Like,
એક વીક સુધી તો જેટલા આપણે ખુશ હતા કે સિંદૂરમાં આપણે વી પરફોર્મ સો વેલ વિથ ડ્યુ ક્રેડિટ ટુ આર ઇન્ડિયન આર્મી પણ એક વીક સુધી ઓફિસમાં પેલો અવાજ આવતો હતો સાયરનનો ન્યૂઝ ચેનલોનો કારણ કે
Exactly.
આખો દિવસે ન્યૂઝ ચેનલોમાં સાયરન કેવી રીતે વાગતી હતી એ ખબર નથી પડતી હજુ
અને અમને લોકોને શું કે ખબર છે કે ભાઈ પેલાએ તો કરાચી કેપ્ચર કર્યું, તમે કેમ નથી કરતા? તમે રાષ્ટ્રદ્રોહી છો. અરે ભાઈ, નથી થયું તો હું કઈ રીતે લખું? પણ કે ના, ચેનલમાં આવી ગયું, સોશિયલ મીડિયામાં આવી ગયું. ગઈકાલનું જ ઉદાહરણ આપું, વેનેઝુએલામાં અનફોર્ચ્યુનેટલી એક અર્થક્વેક આવ્યો. એક સોશિયલ મીડિયા પ્લેટફોર્મે લખી દીધું કે 1 લાખ લોકો મરી ગયા. હવે બીબીસી લંડન થી માંડીને બધા લોકો એવું કહે છે કે ઓન રેકોર્ડ 168 people died and 11,000 missing. So means I have to write that, you know, what government is saying and what factually correct is. How can I write કે 1 lakh people died? એટલે
Sir,
આ બહુ બેજવાબદારી પૂર્વકની વાત છે. હા.
No, 100%. This,
I think
so this is such. Just would like to add, as the representative of the digital community, sir, એટલું બધું content create થાય છે ને, right? 80% of the Gen Zs consider themselves to be content creators. 60 to 80%, and a lot of them want to be content creators. હવે content generate થતું જ જવાનું છે. Even if we make any kind of policy, it would be extremely hard to enforce that policy to control the content and the narrative that, let's say, anti-national elements would want to create, or even, you know, we as Janta, right, how we forward things without verifying. I was toying with an idea of digital force, just like border security force. We need a digital security force which would be filled with informed citizens, right, who would call out the lies, who would call out the misinformation, because for government it's very difficult to control. And number two, you cannot even force this platform because these platforms are so powerful. Tomorrow if the government says that Instagram cannot do X number of things and Instagram says, okay, we want to leave the country, right, people would be on the roads to bring the platform back.
That is what has happened in Nepal or in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. I am not on that. What I am saying is, like in Europe, you have GDPR, General Data Protection Rules. They have DSA. You know, it is a very, very strong. Even a company like Apple, they said, no, you have to change the PIN. Apple company has to change PIN and they came to C PIN. And so in European Union, in United Kingdom, in Australia, they have very, very, you know, powerful, robust rules, you know, to control digital media platforms, which is not the case in India. That is what, you know, I am saying, that we must have robust rules. And one more thing, you know, United Nations has said that, you know, there are 3 kind of misinformation. Like one is infodemics, one is misinformation, the example of Sumitra Mahajan. Disinformation is, you know, like India capture Karachi and Islamabad. Third thing is, you know, malinformation, which is very, very dangerous. Sometimes you must have seen, you know, some fake news. Nirmala Sitharaman is saying today is 27 June and I am telling you all that, you know, invest in this fund and you will get, you know, 1 crore in 2 months. Priyanka Gandhi will say, Rajat Sharma will say, मैंने डायबिटीज के लिए ये दवाई ली थी, मेरा 400 डायबिटीज था, अब 40 हो गया. अरे यार गलत है. बट यू नो डीप फेक को कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. दैट इज, यू नो, सिंथेटिक कंटेंट और आर्टिफिशियल. हाँ
Sir, may I make a point? So this is a superb example of aspirational policy making. because these are the issues that we are suffering from day to day. Now you go to a tier 3 village, they have zero problem in sharing whatever data you want. Kyunki unke liye this is not an issue only. So because for us, our fundamentals have been sorted, and now this has become an issue. So that's why when we talk about Viksit Bharat, the idea is that, some of the issues that are aspirational for us will become basic in the years to come. So this is a great example of, the things that are dear to us, but it not might be dear to the other ones.
Last point which I want to add, for example, all of you are from Gujarat and you must be knowing the case of Mr. Gautam Adani, one of the richest men in this country. Somebody in America has decided to fix him. And, he came out with that Hindenburg report. है ना? That is called, mall information. Deliberately, he came out with a document, and next day, 3,000 rupees share has come down to 300 rupees. Imagine the plight of a corporate organization. You will virtually ruin him. The point is that, man sitting in, and today nobody is asking any question to Mr. Hindenburg. He has, shut down his company. But what damage he has done to this corporate governance in this country. So that was, a misinfo. It is beyond misinformation and disinformation. It is malinformation. And that is the thing, phishing. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's video has come where, he is doing Garba. And he invited all the editors for lunch. He said કે 8મા ધોરણ પછી મેં કોઈ દિવસ ગરબા કર્યા જ નથી, પણ કે ગરબાનો કે હું બ્યુટીફુલી ગરબા કરતો હોય એવો વિડિયો આવી ગયો. Now it was a deep fake. Similarly, phishing will come. Tomorrow somebody will hijack your voice and they are going to what is this Neuralink by SpaceX or Mr. Elon Musk? He is planning to hijack your brain. So today I am not afraid of whether my Facebook account will hack or my email will be hacked. He is going to hack my brain. So Rajvi, you don't know how big net you have thrown, and we all are tempted. Please go to your next question.
No, in fact, I'm actually
Sorry.
loving the spirits with which we've coming up and this enthusiasm. Adding to that, Chiranjeev sir had mentioned about આપણે youthની શું responsibility હોવી જોઈએ. So I think when we look at any information online, I think what lacks in us is critical thinking. We look at only આપણે છે ને એક જ પહેલું જોઈએ છે of the coin. We never look about on the other side. We never think about the other side. So I think it is important to notice the pros and cons and to question ourselves whether what we're seeing is right, and to make an effective move to and then take a pause and think before resharing, because I think taking a pause is sometimes what we're losing out on in this very fast driven economy, digital economy at that. So I think that message I would like to give to all the young people in this room. Moving forward, Chiranjeev sir, as chairman of the youth wing of one of India's largest chamber of commerce, you work directly with young entrepreneurs in Gujarat, and many of them are outside the metro spotlight. આપણે જ્યારે startup India ની વાત કરીએ, then the conversation is heavily concentrated on Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore. તો મને એ પૂછવું હતું, on the road to Viksit Bharat 2047, what does entrepreneurship look like in tier 2 India? And what would it take for tier 2 cities to be primary engines of the 2047 economy and not just the secondary beneficiaries? એટલે concepts such as the global capacity centers, how can they contribute to bringing up and stirring up employment in these tier 2 cities and boosting the startup culture?
Very nicely put up. I love the multi-layer. So I have been there globally with all the organizations I've seen. અને બધે ગયો છું. So many organizations, nationally, internationally, I have led. But I can tell you, when I started this journey of leading the global organizations, and especially with Entrepreneurs Organization in 2010, and today I am leading one of the new concepts there after 16 years of my being with them. હું અત્યારે એ જ global committee ના headમાં છું, where I take after tenured industrialists as our members. મને એટલો ફરક લાગે છે કે પહેલા તો કઈ રીતે આપણે ક્યાં હતા ને કઈ રીતે આપણું વિઝન થતું હતું, કઈ રીતે ભારત દેશને જોવામાં આવતો હતો ગ્લોબલી જ્યારે એ મીટિંગ્સમાં બેસતા હતા ત્યારે. અને અત્યારે કોઈ પણ પ્લેટફોર્મમાં, whether we go to United Nations, I was recently at World Economic Forum, have been to the United Nations House of Commons and speaking everywhere else. I think પહેલા તો the pride is immense. Let's understand that. જઈએ છે એટલે હવે કોલર ઊંચો ઓટોમેટિક થઈ જાય છે એટલે શર્ટ આવા પહેરું છું કે જરૂર નથી રહી we need to don't need to tell. હું ગયો એ પહેલા recently એક global conference માં there was someone else from Germany as an entrepreneur talking about his visit to India. અને એ છોકરાએ એ રીતે કર્યું કે of course he's talking about metros. I'll come to that તારા question પર. પણ એને અમને ગણાવડાયું આ રૂમમાં કે આપણે લોકો આપણા યુરોપિયન યુનિયન્સના ઇશ્યુઝની વાત કરીએ છીએ, બ્રેક્સિટ પછીના આપણા પ્રોબ્લેમ્સની વાત કરીએ છીએ, આપણે કલ્ચરલ ડિફરન્સની વાત કરી રહ્યા છે. એક દેશ છે જ્યાં 140 કરોડ લોકો છે, હાઈએસ્ટ નંબર ઓફ રિલિજન્સ છે, હાઈએસ્ટ નંબર ઓફ વર્શિપિંગ એક સેક્ટના લોકો છે, હિન્દુઝ, જે કેટલાય રિલિજન કેટલાય ભગવાન દેવી દેવતાઓને કરે છે. છતાંય જ્યારે ગ્રોથની વાત આવે છે ત્યારે આટલા લાખ કિલોમીટરના હાઈવે એમના પહેલા હતા અને અત્યારે લાખો કિલોમીટર 10 વર્ષમાં બની ગયા છે. આટલા એરપોર્ટ 37 એરપોર્ટ 2013માં હતા, 14માં હતા અને today we are talking about every year adding maybe more than 10 or 11 airports, taking us in the last 7 years more than 70 plus airports. And out of which 2 airports have recently come as the world's best airport. જે આપણે બધાએ વાંચ્યું એમ, best designed airports. One of them is the sustainable airport. ડિફેન્સમાં આપણી શું હાલત હતી અત્યારે? today that person is saying કે India is exporting defense. Import ની તો વાત જ દૂર રહી ગઈ. We are exporting our defense and now that the number is staggering, 4 લાખ કરોડનો. So the Indian growth story, space, જે આપણું કોઈ વર્ડ જ નહોતો. I met Sudhanshu Shukla and for one of my events, and that guy is preparing for Gaganyaan, and maybe very very soon we will have an Indian man in an Indian space satellite, instrument, traveling to space, and maybe he's walking on the moon. સાઉથ પોલમાં આપણે એકલા ગયા છે મૂનમાં આપણા મિશન પર. So this is where the global image is. So let's give our honorable prime minister and the vision, and whatever work has happened, આપણને ગમે ના ગમે, આપણી બોર્ડરની શું હાલત હતી, આપણે ડિફેન્સમાં ક્યાં હતા, આપણે સ્ટાર્ટઅપમાં ક્યાં હતા, આપણા 130 યુનિકોર્ન્સ અત્યારે ક્યાં પહોંચી ગયા છે. પહેલા તો let's understand that broader aspect. Now Bapu sitting here, Milap bhai, he knows all these numbers, and especially for the first 5 metro cities, the number are phenomenal as far as the startup world, like you said, is concerned. But એ 130 યુનિકોર્ન, જેમાં કદાચ 4 કે 5 આપણા ગુજરાતથી છે, which I am very happy about, are not something that people sitting in Delhi should be talking about or deciding the policies on, which I am a firm believer. And એટલે જ હું હંમેશા દરેક જગ્યાએ I try and be the crusader of entrepreneurship. Let us also understand કે 60 million, 63 million, 63 million MSMEs આપણા દેશમાં છે અને એ લોકોને 25 લાખ પ્લસ કરોડની જરૂર છે. કારણ કે એમની પાસે કોલેટરલ કોઈક વાર નથી હોતી, કોઈક વાર કંઈક નથી હોતું, કોઈક વાર એમના કેશ બેલેન્સમાં ઇશ્યુઝ થઈ જાય છે, કોઈક વાર એમની પાસે એના ગ્રોથ માટેના ઇશ્યુઝ હોય છે. અને પોલિસી મેકિંગની જ્યારે વાત કરીએ ને ત્યારે અમે લોકોએ તમામ પ્લેટફોર્મથી, not just us, everyone came together and started representing this problem about the tier 2, tier 3 cities that you are talking about. કે એ લોકોના ત્યાં જે સુરતમાં કે રાજકોટમાં કે બરોડામાં કે જામનગરમાં કે જુનાગઢમાં ત્યાં સ્ટાર્ટઅપ્સ છે, એની વાતો ગ્રેટ થાય છે, પણ ત્યાં મેજર MSMEs છે. MSME ના લીધે આપણો GDP ચાલે છે. આપણે ગુજરાત I think 30+% એ GDP માં કોન્ટ્રીબ્યુટ કરીએ છીએ. અને આ જો 30 લાખ MSME જુદી જુદી રીતે આપણા આ વેસ્ટર્ન રિજનમાં ના હોય તો આપણે આમાં કોન્ટ્રીબ્યુટ જ ના કરી શકીએ. સો કમિંગ ટુ ધ ક્વેશ્ચન અગેન, કે તમે જે પૂછ્યું કે ટાયર 2 તરફથી શું હોઈ શકે અને કઈ રીતે એ સિનેરિયો ચેન્જ કરવાનો છે, તો એમાં સૌથી ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે કે ગવર્મેન્ટ લેવલે જે, હવે હું આવ્યો ટુ ધ લાસ્ટ પાર્ટ ઓફ યોર મલ્ટીલેયર્ડ ક્વેશ્ચન, ઇઝ GCCs. ગ્લોબલ કંપનીઝની જે વાત છે કે મલ્ટીનેશનલ કંપનીની વાત છે, ઇટ ઇઝ હાઈ ટાઈમ, એન્ડ ઓલ ઓફ અસ, આપણા ચારેની ઇક્વલ જવાબદારી છે કે રાઈટ અવાજ પહોંચાડીએ કે હવે જો કોઈ બી ગ્લોબલ કંપનીને Google, Meta, anyone wants to come in India, the government should tell them કે તમે પહેલા 2 ટાયર ને 3 ટાયર સિટીમાં જઈને તમારા સેન્ટર બનાવો. આ લોકો 1.9 million લોકો, close to 2 crore to 3 crore people, these multinationals are already employing in our country. And આ 3 crore લોકોની salary is all high scale. They are the real GDP contributors and sincere taxpayers of our country when they are working for these GCCs. There are 1700 plus GCCs in our country. But 2 tier and 3 tier માં hardly 100 બી નથી થતા. આ જો 500 સાહેબ થઈ જાય તો રાજકોટ, જુનાગઢ, જામનગરની શું પરિસ્થિતિ? અને એક ગૂગલની ઓફિસ, એક SpaceX ની ઓફિસ શું કરી શકે? અને કેવી ઓપોર્ચ્યુનિટીઝ આપી શકે. ધીસ ઇઝ ધ ગેપ that we need to think. અને આપણે અહીંયા રૂમમાં બેસીને જે મારું અપેક્ષા છે આપણે શું કરી શકીએ, તો આપણે આપણા પોર્ટલ્સ ખોલીને આપણે જે પ્લેટફોર્મ પર ઇન્ફ્લુઅન્સ કરી શકીએ એમાં આ સુધારા વધારાની વાત કરીએ કે આપો અમને ગ્લોબલ કંપનીઝ, અમારા 2 ટાયર 3 સિટીઝમાં આપો, અમારા સ્ટાર્ટઅપ્સને આ 2 ટાયર 3 ટાયર સિટીઝના સ્ટાર્ટઅપ્સને આ રીતની પોલિસી આપો, અમારા જે એમએસએમઈસ છે એમનો આ જે 25 લાખ કરોડનો ગેપ છે એના માટે તમે કોલેટરલ વગર એ લોકો માટે આ લેન્ડિંગ વાળી જે સ્કીમ છે એને એક્સટેન્ડ કરો. ગવર્મેન્ટ ઇઝ રિયલાઇઝિંગ, દે આર ડુઇંગ ઇટ. પણ આપણે લોકો બી એટલા જ સહભાગી થવાનું છે. હું દરેક વખતે આ રિપીટ કરીશ કે આપણે શું કરવાનું છે. ધેર ઇઝ અ ફિનોમિનલ ઓનરેબલ પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર whom we will be સેન્ચુરી સુધી યાદ રાખીશું. પણ બ્યુરોક્રેટિક સિસ્ટમ ઇઝ ઓફ ડુઇંગ બિઝનેસ કરવા માટે સાહેબ હજુ બી અટકાઈ દે છે.
એક્ઝેક્ટલી
હજુ બી આપણે જાણીએ છીએ કે 2 ટાયર સિટીઝમાં સાહેબ 6 સ્ટેપની ઇઝ ઓફ ડુઇંગ બિઝનેસ છે. હજુ કઈ સિંગલ વિન્ડો છે? હું 6 સ્ટેપ ગણાઈ દઉં તમને જો મારે કાલે કંપની ખોલવી હોય તો 2 ટાયર 3 ટાયર સિટીમાં. That is where we need to contribute. That is where the youth need to act. That is where you all need to write every single day. તમે સોશિયલ મીડિયા પર બોલ કરશો, that is not going to be impacting. You need to put things on paper and these are the platforms. આજના વ્હાઇટ પેપર, આજનું આપણું ડિસ્કશન, આજમાં આયેલી આપણી વસ્તુઓ, you and your team need to get on paper, write it and then present to us next year when you celebrate your first anniversary. Okay, this is what was done through this confluence.
Yeah, Raju, it would be part of your KRA that, you know, next year you will say કે discussion થયું તો એનો શું meaning થયો. પણ what Chiranjeevi has said, I simply want to add one thing, you know, you said about Davos. I had been to Davos. You know, the important data and devil is in the detail. If you study the data, you know, there was a very important report in Davos published last year which says that, you know, 1% affluent people are controlling 49% resources of the world, and 10% of the rich people are controlling almost 90% resources of the world. Elon Musk alone, when he has become trillionaire, on that day, you know, his wealth was, you know, more than the wealth of 178 countries out of 192 registered in United Nations. Think of that man. But on the other side, still 25% people in this globe are not having food every day, and more than 50% people are still living below poverty line. What Mahatma Gandhi used to say કે સમાજના છેવાડાના માનવીનો વિકાસ ના થાય તો એ વિકાસ જે છે એ સાચો વિકાસ નથી. Take example of Gujarat. You had gone up to tier 2 visit, tier 2 only. I want to go one step further. Gujarat is contributing 30% in GDP, and that's the reason that, you know, Gujarat is a growth engine of India. But, you know, Gujarat is a classic case of crony capitalism also. Understand that also. If you see the Gini coefficient ratio, which says that, you know, in Gujarat also, 5 big companies, you know, they are contributing almost 25% in the GDP of Gujarat. But what about people, those living in Banaskantha or Sabarkantha or in Dahod or in Panchmal or in Santrampur or Chota Udeipur or Kawat or Nasadi or Bharuch, Sagbara up to Vapi, Valsad, you know, in that area, Vyara, you know, that tribal belt, they are still not having adequate facilities which, you know, people in Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar, they are, you know, enjoying. I distinctly remember APJ Kalam, you know, he has written a wonderful book to Vision 2020, and I was part of his team because his last book, Transcendence, I translated him, and unfortunately after that he died. He told me that, you know, we want hedonistic development. So when you are talking about GDP, also talk about, you know, human development index. What about human development index? We need to think about human development index also. Gujarat is a classic case that, you know, after Ganganagar in Rajasthan or Haryana, you know, we have a skewed gender inequality ratio. Go to Unja, you know, there 69 versus 100 boys and girl ratio. This proves a point that, you know, we are not only suffering from skewed gender inequality, but also malnourishment, prenatal care, postnatal care, dropout rate. Good that, you know, we are having this Praveshotsav and other things, but still, you know, almost 40% children, they don't go beyond class 7. So there are, you know, we need to work on human development index
no,
also.
you very rightly said. And just to continue two amounts, and Varun especially, and then you take over. ખાલી બધાને પૂછવું છે કે જનધન ખાતા જે આપણી you know, I think જેને ઇન્ડિયાની શકલ બદલી, જે ટાયર 3 ના લોકો જે સફરિંગમાં હતા, જે ઓનરેબલ પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર લાયા, બધા લેયર્સ કરી કાઢ્યા, what can digitalization do, બધું જ આપણે લઈ આયા. યુપી બધું એના પર આવું છું. That is second. First is ખાલી જનધનની વાત કરું તો 53 કરોડ જનધન ખાતા આપણે સાહેબ ખોલી દીધા, બરોબર બાપુ? સાહેબ કેટલા ડોર્મન્ટ છે ખબર છે? 9.5 કરોડ, 53 કરોડમાંથી એનો ઉપયોગ જ નથી કર્યો કોઈએ. આમાં ઓનરેબલ પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર કે ગવર્મેન્ટ શું કરે? વેર ઇઝ ધ બ્યુરોક્રેટિક ચેલેન્જ ઇન ઇન્ડિયા? Superb gift by the greatest Britishers who ruled over us. How do we come out of this bureaucratic system? અને આપણો કે એ લોકોનો 9.5 કરોડ લોકોનો એમાંથી અમુક ફ્રોડ હશે કે જે પહેલા બનાયેલા હશે કે જે હશે. Exactly.
Like to add, pull in Varun sir.
And the
here.
second is, sorry,
Huh.
UPI last month UPI has crossed the staggering figure of 15 billion transactions. When I was in House of Commons, I was at 12 billion 2 years back. That was the number. દર મહિને 12 બિલિયન યુપીઆઈ ટ્રાન્ઝેક્શન થતા હતા આપણા દેશમાં. યુએસએ, યુરોપ, આફ્રિકા કોન્ટિનેન્ટ આખા ભેગા કરીએ ને તો એ લોકોના હજુ એટલા ટ્રાન્ઝેક્શન ઓનલાઈન નથી થતા. આપણે 15 બિલિયન ટ્રાન્ઝેક્શન્સ ક્રોસ કર્યા. સો ધીસ ઇઝ વોટ ધેટ ઓનરેબલ પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર હેઝ ડન એન્ડ હિઝ ટીમ હેઝ ડન. પણ એટ ધ સેમ ટાઈમ 28% ઇન્ડિયામાં બ્રોડબેન્ડ જ નથી. હું ખાલી અમદાવાદથી 30 મિનિટ દૂર રહેવા ગયો ને મને બ્રોડબેન્ડ લેતા દુનિયાભરની ઓળખાણ લગાડવી પડી. અને હજુ ગેસ કનેક્શન તો છે જ નહીં રાચડામાં. So these are the problems, and this is where we all need to step in.
I think in this very important conversation, I would like to pull in Varun sir about sir talked about HDI, Human Development Index. So is there a trade-off between development and democracy as well? Okay, how do we build our democratic institutions while also building the development on the road to Viksit Bharat? Could you comment on that and as well on the point you have made?
So before I come to that, Startup India, okay, it's very interesting. Chiranjeevi bhai said about the number of unicorns, funding, everything, superb. But there is one thing that is the biggest hidden change that has happened because of the Startup India, which is the societal validation to people who want to take entrepreneurship as a career option. Because we are sitting in Gujarat, we don't realize that because we are a business community. આપણે businesses કર્યા છે 50 વર્ષથી, so there is a societal validation કે તમારું business છે, so you are doing well in life. If you go to UP, Bihar, if you go to Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, in UP, Bihar, જો તમે public government jobs માટે prepare નથી કરતા, તમે UPSC માટે prepare નથી કરતા, you don't get respect from the society. જો તમે ઓડિશા, તમિલનાડુ, કેરલામાં, if you are not having a private job in a software, you don't get respect. And when I'm talking about respect, there are families જે તમને છોકરી બી નહીં આપે કે છોકરીને છોકરા બી નહીં આપે. Because of the Startup India, there is respect that has come to people who are starting to take courage to do businesses. And I think that is the biggest change of the Startup India that has come, where people are treated with respect. We did a survey and you would be, it was also an eye-opening for me today. For the young people, two things have happened. One, some of the biggest role models in India have changed from being people from, either entertainment sector or different sector to people who are startup founders. Everyone knows what this startup is and who are the founders behind that. Number two, and I want you to raise your hand. How many of you have discussed startups with your family? You raise your hand. For the first time, startups and building business have become a part of the dining room discussion, not only in Gujarat, but across the country. What China did with the great leap forward, discussing about development, businesses, enterprise today has been done in India. That is what we call the spirit. It's the animal spirit. કે જો તમે startup કરી રહ્યા છો, તમે business કરી રહ્યા છો, you are doing something well. And I think that is the first thing that an entrepreneur requires is the respect from the family and the society. He will handle everything else. So I think that is what Startup India has solved for, that you are doing something well in your life. So I think that is one thing that I'm very happy about. The question that you asked, and I again want to, take, your particular feedback, right? See, I will give you one example about, Rajvi asked a very interesting question about the trade-off between the democracy and development, okay? I will give you one option, okay? I will actually give you two options, okay? Number one option, you have a big house, you have a gigantic villa, you have everything, okay? All materialistic pleasures which are possible. But for getting out of the house, you need permission. You cannot go anywhere else, without taking the permission. And if you want to speak anything about the, about the owner or anything, then you need permission. How many of you would want to stay in that villa? Please raise your hand. Okay, no one. The second option is that, you have all the freedom. Okay, but you do not have a house. There are no roads. There is no electricity. How many of you want a life like that? Again, pretty much evident, no one. So the answer to this is that democracy and developments are not two different sides. It is not a trade-off. It is democracy and development, and they are both the same sides of the coin. A democracy brings accountability, pressure to deliver, and better systems and governance to a development engine. And that is exactly what is happening in India. See, if you look at, where India is right now, we are the fastest growing major economy, and that has happened because of democracy and not despite of democracy. The checks and balances, the institutions which are there, that has made us ensure that we have to deliver better quality of governance. I will give you a simple example. Today, Chiranjeevi Bhai said that UPI transactions have, gone to certain $1 billion every month. Now think about this, the next, whoever has to govern, right? They cannot go below this level. If they go below this level, the expectations of the people have become so high that they will rule them out. So the fact that it is a democracy-led development, it ensures that the country and the citizens, they keep growing. Because if it was otherwise a dictatorship, and trust me, there is no dictatorship. There is no dictatorship that has ever worked anywhere. We keep talking about China, but there is of course a lot of layers within that. If you look at the enterprises and all those things, it's a very different sort of a framework, right? So the idea is always going to be how to have democracy at the bedrock, because trust me, no one is going to feel happy on a day-to-day basis just thinking, "Arey, desh to 10% GDP pe develop ho raha hai, bhale hamare paas right to expression now, right to protest now, right to criticize na ho." So these are both the same sides of the coin, and we need to take it like that. And the very reason that we are able to grow is because we have a democratic setup, and there are checks and balances, and there is a pressure, and there is a expectations from everyone to govern. Because if we do not govern in the right manner, there is a system that after 5 years you will be put to a test, unlike the bureaucracy, which is the beauty of this democracy. So that's why I feel that both of them, will go hand in hand, and that is the beauty of India.
Somewhere you are
thank you
coming
so
to the
much.
problem answer.
Yes, I think it was very well explained. Now looping in Jai sir to the conversation. Let's stir the conversation a little more towards the demographic dividend of India and how we can use that as an asset. We've last 15 minutes and then the floor is open to questions for the audience. So, beginning with this question, Japan became one of the world's most advanced economies because it was able to encash its demographic dividend at one point in history, something that India is facing today. Today, Japan faces declining age and a declining aging population, but it still continues to remain technologically stable, productive, and intense because it built right institutions at the right time. Today, in India, every 2047 document talks about demographic dividend being an asset. But a dividend has to be claimed, and claiming it requires feeling a sense of ownership, not just employment in the country. So, according to you, what do you think the average young Indian, how can they be shareholders to the development by creating platforms such as you have created one for yourself? How do you think young Indians can be shareholders of this dividend and claim it as an asset?
Right. There's a very interesting thing about Japan. Since you mentioned the country, after the World War II, there was a saying that made in Japan meant an insult. Right? Junk products, bad quality. Nobody wanted to buy stuff built in Japan after the World War II. Every Japanese took that as a mission that we will change it. We will produce the products that the world will appreciate and respect. There was a guy in Japan who spent his lifetime perfecting just one ball of noodles. And that is when we have the 2 minutes noodles. It came from Japan. Right? And then the Six Sigmas and all. So all the citizens decided that we will change this perception of the world that they have about Japan. Again, sense of ownership. right? Even in my first answer, I mentioned that we need to stop acting like the consumers of the country and start acting like the owners of the country. Now, if you talk about demographic dividend, right? India's best window to claim our dividend is between 2018 to, it's between 2018 to 2055, right? Right now, our median age is about 28. About 29% of our population is between the age group of 15 to 30. And 65% of our population is less than the age of 35. So our median age is about 28. China is at about 38 and Japan is at about 58. Now, if you look at Japan and China, and even Singapore for that matter, they became rich before growing old. We are growing up. We also need to become rich before we get old. Otherwise, we will miss this window. Right now, this discussion had to happen about 20, 30 years back. That how do we claim the demographic dividend? Unfortunately, it didn't. Right, but fortunately, from 2014 onwards, this discussion has started happening, and I don't mince my words that it has started. The discussion started happening only after that. Only after that, we have Make in India, an aspiration that we will make in India that the world will appreciate. Sell anywhere but Make in India is what a prime minister said. Right, so those aspirational discussions started happening after 2014. Now, in order to claim this, right, we need to have very strong and robust infrastructure. And for most of the developed and rich countries, the robust infrastructure is mostly unseen. I have this model that I call EPIC model. EPIC E stands for education. Our education should be so good that even a millionaire would want to put their kids into a government school, which it is not right now. No matter where you come from, the accident of your birth, whether you take birth in Kutch or in Mumbai or in Ahmedabad, you should have access to the same quality of education. That is what happens in developed nations. So education, number one. And not just quality, even the quantity. We sometimes take pride that for a few thousand seats, lakhs of people are competing. It's a tragedy. If we have 140 crore people, we need to have enough number of institutions that can upskill those 140 crore people to claim their aspirations and to reach where they want to be and eventually help the country. So first is education. Second is policy. EPIC ka P, policy and politics. We need to move to politics of governance and development from politics of caste and religion. And policy which is inclusive for everyone. Just like he said that internet nu connection લેવા માટે એમને ઓળખાણો લગાવી પડી હતી. Right? ગામડામાં કોઈને બિઝનેસ શરૂ કરવો હોય તો લાયસન્સ લેવા માટે ઓળખાણો લગાડી પડે. The day you need not to know somebody important to get what is rightfully yours, something which is basic, that kind of policies we need to have. Inclusive institutions which are committed to serve, the third letter I. Inclusive institutions which are committed to deliver the same quality of service to all the citizens, irrespective of who they know, which strata of the society that they belong to. And fourth and the most important is the civilians, the citizens. Right? They need to feel that I own this country and I'm committed to this country. And be responsible. Right? So, I mean, all the developed countries that you see, right, the citizens feel responsible for the development of the country too. For the last 75 years after independence, I think we have spent developing India, or we have spent talking about developing India. The next 25 years should be spent focusing on developing Indians. Once the Indians are developed, they will eventually go and develop the India. So I think that is how we can claim our demographic dividend, and time is running out. Our recent PLFS survey said that the youth unemployment rate is about 15%. Government's own survey says that more than half of the youth population, which is educated, are not completely employable. That needs to change quickly. And that is when I think we will start owning our dividend.
Definitely. I think the EPIC model that you mentioned is something that if we take it seriously and employ it from the grassroots up and not employ a top-down approach, but a bottom-up approach, I think meaningful impact ત્યારે ને ત્યારે જ થશે. અને the point that you said about that time is running out. Develop બનવામાં આપણે વર્ષો add કરીએ તો add કરતા જ જશું. પણ if we set a target in our mind, say 2047, 100 years, the 100th anniversary of our independence, I think that would be a very symbolic gesture. We are losing our coloniality and bringing back the Indianness, the actual culture and its roots are coming back. So I think that is really important.
And it's very much possible. Sometimes it sounds unrealistic because India is such a vast country with a lot of diversity. It is possible. China has done it. Japan has done it. South Korea has done it. In 78, South Korea and Ghana both had the same level of GDP, both had the same level of per capita income, right? Look at how South Korea progressed and what Ghana did. South Korea focused on ruthless meritocracy, their educational institutions. They developed the Koreans first and then they developed the country. So I think that's where the focus should be.
Definitely 100%. Yes, sir.
Sometimes, even opportunity also comes. For example, South Korea. Before 3 days, their COPSI was down by 10%. 10%. 10%. The reason is that, they felt that, AI or IT bubble will burst. Okay. So that was one of the reason. And the point you were saying, about education, we don't have that robust education system that America has. I'll give you one example. UNESCO has conducted the biggest experiment in the world, and that experiment lasted for 35 years. And what they did, they had two groups. You being a student of research, you would understand and appreciate that. They took, 50 children from sub-Saharan Latin American country, where, children at the age group of 50 children, they have picked up from Gandhi Gali Badnam Basti, and 25 were taken to America and they were given the best education. And 25 were kept in that Gandhi Gali Badnam Basti, as experimental. After 35 years, they realized that, those 25 who were living in those huts, they become drug addicts, they become drug peddlers, they become, criminals, they become, the best person was, a rickshawala, or most of them were languishing in jails. But those 25 who were given the best education that American president children were given, they were all, working as somebody was working as president or CEO of a company, or somebody had become a high court judge. And that when that experiment was written, Warren Buffett has written a preface of that book, and he said, look at the robust education system that America has, that, two dropouts of a university, one was Bill Gates and the other was Steve Jobs. One has formed, Microsoft, from whose window we are watching the whole world. And the other is, Apple. Okay, Steve Jobs. They both were dropout and still they could become the richest man of the world. So that is the beauty of education. But none of our bureaucrats, they are sending their children to that, Nagar Prathmik school or to government school. They all will send their children to best educational institutes outside India. Now, this is what, I am saying, that inequality is the biggest challenge. And another thing is, we all will speak good things about, 2047 Viksit Bharat. But what about, unemployment? We are talking that, India is blessed with demographic dividends and 35%, 65% people are below 35. But are we in a position to provide them adequate employment opportunities or not? That is the crux of the whole thing. He says that, startup, but startup has percolated down to those tribal areas. If it does not, then, you will again revisit the Naxalite issues. Naxalite issues came only because of joblessness. The growth should not be jobless growth, we need to think of something, which can upgrade or upscale, skills of these young people. So dealing the degrees with, jobs, and
True.
think that, catch them young, new education policy is doing wonderful. But as Chiranjeevi has said that, policy makers are doing wonderful things. They have a vision, they have a mission. But, when it is percolating down, in bureaucratic circles, there are wheels within wheels, and, everything mojo is lost. So we all need, being a watchdog of the society, it is our duty that we say that a wrong is a wrong is a wrong, and we need to do something.
Right.
Okay.
Sir, I believe the biggest bottleneck that this country faces today is the bureaucracy, right? The demographic dividend with opportunities and skills could be the greatest asset, but the same demographic, the same population without skills and opportunity could be disaster. And bureaucracy has all the ingredients to make it a disaster. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the reality.
I think I would like to loop in Varun sir here, because without asking him this question, this panel would have just been incomplete. So I would like to
Correct.
So I would like to know your comment and your opinion on it. So recently, Justice Suryakant's remarks comparing sections of young people and the parts of media to cockroaches, giving rise to debate around CJP and protests and public activism. On the other hand, Gen Z is often criticized for being performative, for being disruptive or politically uninformed. And on the other, it is seen as the most connected and the most vocal and technologically empowered generation that India has ever seen. So I would like to ask you, where do you think the balance lies? How can young Indians use technology to voice their political opinions, challenge authority in the right way, and participate in public discourse respectfully without allowing outrage to become outrage for, without allowing activism to be outrage for outrage's sake? What do you think? What's your say on this?
It's a very interesting question. Because I've been on the intersection of both policy and I'm an active political national office bearer, so I can give you a sort of a hybrid approach. I feel there is a very big gap between the expectation and the outcome, especially for the new things that are unknown, right? Like one of the discussion that we had here was with regard to the media guidelines, how to curb disinformation. Now, the people who are making the policy, for them also it is a very new topic. It's not that they are some subject matter experts and they have been taught that, right? So every new thing that really comes, like listen, AI, right, that has come into play, it is so difficult to make a policy on how to regulate AI, right? The reason why I'm saying this is because all of this challenges, it presents an opportunity to young people, because young people, they understand new things much faster and in much more depth than the folks who are actually right now making the policy. It's a very, it's a lived experience. Even right now, some of the work that we do, it is much easier for us to, and I consider myself very young, that's why I'm speaking. I correct. So for us, understanding LLMs, AI, how to have guardrails, ring fences, it just comes naturally. But I know 20 years down the line, it will become very difficult when there are much more things like hybrid digital twins and what all, right? So I feel that this is the opportunity that young people need to take. I will give you my personal example. Okay, 2010, I went to the college. I was a very hopeless, sort of a person with India itself, right? I had actually given up. Let me put it like that. I was thinking that, the country is not moving. There is, there was a lot of corruption and, of course, bureaucracy, and I did not see any hope. My plan was very simple: 4 years engineering, 3 years work experience, go to the top MBA college, do the work that will match whatever is required in terms of making a sparkling essay, and go to US and settle there. And then 2014 happened, and it's a very true reflection that I'm sharing with you. And after 2014, I saw a lot of things coming into play. I saw a lot of things like the startup, people focusing on sports infrastructure, young people getting opportunities. But as a representative of a political party, and this is the thing that I told to Rajvi. So I flew from Delhi today. I told that the reason why I'm coming here, of course, it's my home city, but the thing that I'm most interested in is how to get young people into the political ecosystem of the country, so that their voices are not only restricted to social media, but to the place where there is action, the place where they can actually make a difference. If you hear, again, I'm not endorsing, but if you hear the Honorable Prime Minister continuously, he keeps saying that he needs 1 lakh committed youth to come and join politics. So the only request is, and again, as I said, it's not an endorsement to join a particular party, but the idea is there is a lot of space right now for young people to come and be a part of this movement, because there are a lot of new aspects which the existing generation, it is very difficult for them to understand, and that's why they're very much open to collaboration. It's a hack that I'm sharing with you. So the idea is that if you really want to make a difference, of course, there is all right to dissent, cockroaches and whatever is happening, right? You might oppose ideologically, but the idea is that, if you look at it, they have been doing the protest for 10 days or 15 days, whatever that is, but the government has, given them the space, do whatever, opposition. It's a democracy. So the idea is that if you really want to make a difference, act on it. And the other thing is, don't only think about yourself. You would need to think about the diversity of this country. You would need to think about the problem that are not only yours, but it could be also a problem of, someone who is living like 2000 kilometers away from you. Because if you do not think that, your whatever decision that you would be making, it would be a very empty and a hollow decision. So the idea, to the question that you said, that how can this youth activism really take shape? I feel that because a lot of fundamental things have corrected, there is a lot of scope for young people to actually come. And that is the reason, why we have made this policy structure, for young people, professionals to come and engage. So the idea is that there are so many areas where the government, the political parties, they require a lot of assistance, a lot of help. So this is the opportunity. So if we are just holding back and thinking that youth is just for protesting and rebelling, that is not the only space. Of course, there is a space for that also, but there is a lot of constructive space where you can come, you can you can contribute, and you can be a part of the larger decision making. So I think that is what is very interesting, and I really look forward to I know that there are few of you are already there, but I really look forward to a lot more of you coming, entering, and growing this particular movement.
I think we ended this panel discussion right on time, and the views and the spirit with which each one of us have brought to the table, I think it is just purely commendable, and this couldn't have been more productive. So I think a round of applause for that.
ના, your last question, what you asked, Varun, મને એક લાઈનમાં એનું ખાલી sum up કરું ને, તો શું કરવું જોઈએ Gen Z એ, to bridge that gap? Join the colloquium, join the confluence. આ પ્લેટફોર્મ છે, હું કારનો એ જ કહું છું કે let's join. There are platforms like this, and then make this platform a way to where Varun said, be a part. Again, હું તો એડવોકસી કરું છું પાર્ટીની, એ ના કરી શકે. હું પાર્ટી સાથે કોઈ રીતે જોડાયેલો નથી. હું એડવોકસી કરું છું કે આપણે આપણા દેશને વિકસિત ભારત કરવું હોય તો છે એક સિસ્ટમ છે. હા, તમે એની કોઈક વિચારધારાથી સંમત હો, કોઈક વસ્તુથી ના આપણને ના સમજ પડતી હોય, આપણે એને સહેમત ના હોઈએ, તો એ બી જગ્યા છે પાર્ટીમાં બોલવાની. એવું કોઈ માનતું હોય કે તમે કોઈક રીલ જોઈએ અને તમને લાગતું હોય કે ના બોલવાની જગ્યા ના છે, there is a way of representation. બીજી કોઈ છોકરાઓની પાર્ટી થઈને જે રિપ્રેઝેન્ટ કરી રહ્યું છે, those are not the ways. There is a way of representation. એવું તમને લાગે કે ગવર્મેન્ટે કોઈ નીટની એક્ઝામ ના કે કોઈ એની નોંધ નથી લીધી, તો please wait for few days and see what happens. And I'm telling you this with a lot of conviction, because જેટલા લોકોએ સાહેબ, જેટલા લોકોએ જ્યાં ભૂલ કરી હશે ત્યાં દરેક સમયે દરેક રીતે ટકોર આવી જ જાય છે. એવું બન્યું જ નથી એ પાર્ટીમાં કે ના થયું. It is a very systematic oriented approach party. It's one of the largest organizations of the world. તો એ ઓર્ગેનાઇઝેશનમાં તો પ્લસ માઇનસ થતું જ હોય, બટ ઓવરઓલ આપણા દેશ માટે શું સાચું છે, ઓવરઓલ આપણી સેફટી માટે શું સાચું છે, ઓવરઓલ આપણા ગ્રોથ માટે શું સારું છે, એ જોવાનું છે. અને એ ના કરવું હોય તો આવા પબ્લિક પ્લેટફોર્મ્સનો પાર્ટ બનીએ, ત્યાંથી આપણો વોઇસ આગળ મોકલીએ. અને ડિસેન્ટ હોય તો ડિસેન્ટ, અસેન્ટ હોય તો અસેન્ટ, જે મોકલવું હોય મોકલો, પણ જોઈન ધીસ. સો બ્રિલિયન્ટ એફર્ટ, રાજવી. બિગ હેન્ડ ટુ યુ.
Thank you so much. I think there is much more to do, much more to learn, and much more to conquer yet again. And I think platforms like these, this is my motto and my personal mission, to do something for the country and something that drives change. હવે તો ચાલુ જ કર્યું છે એટલે હવે તો કરવું જ પડશે. સાચી વાત છે. So now I would open the floor to questions.
Raju, just one thing before we
Okay.
go there, right? I
Yes,
also would like
yes.
to add something.
Yeah.
How would you like to see our youth, right, wearing the cockroach masks and creating trouble on roads and spreading misinformation and spreading hate, or youth like Rajvi and other young people here, right, who are wearing Indian traditional wear, right, proudly representing our country and discussing policies at this young age? How would you like to see your youth this way, right? एक सूत्र है विकास भी विरासत भी. While we discuss Viksit Bharat 2047, all of us desperately want to be developed. All of us desperately want India to be developed, but at the same time, let's not make the mistakes that the developed countries have made. Trust me, the kind of social issues that they have, we don't want to have them, right? And hence Vikas bhi Virasat bhi is important. And hence it feels so good to see these young students wearing Indian traditional wear and somebody also in dhoti, right? While talking about policies and the future of India. It's commendable. This is the kind of youth that we want to see,
Right.
not the one with masks of cockroaches.
અને જય જે કોકરોચ જનતા પાર્ટીની આખી વાત ચાલે છે ને, તમે પણ વાત કરી, ઇઝ ધ એનીબડી હુ નોઝ ધ પરફેક્ટ કોન્ટેક્સ્ટ કે કયા કોન્ટેક્સ્ટમાં વાક્ય કહેવામાં આવ્યું હતું? મને ને તમને તો ખબર છે. હે એકચ્યુઅલી આઈ એમ નોટ હિયર ટુ ડિફેન્ડ ચીફ જસ્ટિસ ઓફ ઇન્ડિયા, પણ એકચ્યુઅલી જે તમે શરૂઆતમાં કહ્યું ને કે પેલું 30 સેકન્ડનું એક સેન્ટેન્સ લઈ લીધું, એ 30 સેકન્ડનું સેન્ટેન્સ લઈ લીધું એન્ડ દે સેડ ધેટ ધ ચીફ જસ્ટિસ ઓફ ઇન્ડિયા હેઝ સેડ ધેટ કોક્રોચીસ એન્ડ they are behaving like cockroaches. હે ઇટ વોઝ અ ક્લાસિક કેસ ઓફ મિસઇન્ફોર્મેશન કે ચીફ જસ્ટિસની જે આખી વાત હતી ને, તમે આખી વાત જો સાંભળો, હકીકત એ હતી કે સુપ્રીમ કોર્ટમાં વન એડવોકેટ came and he was behaving and he said કે મને સિનિયર એડવોકેટ નો દરજ્જો આપી દો. હવે there are rules and regulation, બાર કાઉન્સિલ ના નિયમો છે, બાર કાઉન્સિલ ઓફ ઇન્ડિયા ના, અને he was wasting the time of court અને he was doing activism. એટલે ચીફ જસ્ટિસે અકળાઈને તે વખતે કીધું કે ભાઈ આ જે અમુક નવરી પ્રજા છે એ આપણે પણ લૂઝ સ્ટોકમાં એવું કહેતા હોઈએ છીએ, એ સંદર્ભમાં એને કહ્યું હતું. અને એ એક્ટિવિઝમ he was not talking about all the youth of this country. પણ જેમ તમે જુઓ કે પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટરની ઇઝરાયલની સ્પીચ હતી, એમાં મધરલેન્ડ ને ફાધરલેન્ડની જે વાત કરી, એ એક પર્ટિક્યુલર સેન્ટેન્સ લઈ લીધું, આખો પર્સપેક્ટિવ ના લીધો, આખો કોન્ટેક્સ્ટ ના લીધો. એટલે યુ આર નોટ ટેકિંગ થિંગ્સ ઇન કોન્ટેક્સ્ટ. અને 30 સેકન્ડ જે છે એનું અટેન્શન સ્પાન જે છે, અનફોર્ચ્યુનેટલી ઇફ યોર અટેન્શન સ્પાન ઇઝ વેરી વેરી લેસ લાઈક 30 સેકન્ડ, તો પછી તમારું જજમેન્ટ પણ છે ને, યુ આર ગોઈંગ ટુ ગીવ અ વેરી સ્નેપ જજમેન્ટ. તો જજમેન્ટ પણ ખોટું જ આવે, કારણ કે તમે 30 સેકન્ડનું વાક્ય જ પકડો છો. ધેટ ઇઝ ધ રૂટ કોઝ ઓફ ધ હોલ મિસઇન્ફોર્મેશન, ડિસઇન્ફોર્મેશન, મોલ ઇન્ફોર્મેશન, એન્ડ વિચ ઇઝ વોટ ગિવિંગ બર્થ ટુ ધીસ કોક્રોચ જનતા પાર્ટી. એન્ડ આઈ એપ્રિશિએટ કે સરકારે છે ને એને કહ્યું કે જાઓ જઈને પ્રદર્શન કરો. હે ઇટ ફિઝલ્ડ આઉટ. ઇટ ફિઝલ્ડ આઉટ બીકોઝ દે હેડ અનધર એજન્ડા. હા, એટલે જ કહું છું, કન્ટેન્ટ હોત તો ચાલત, નતું એટલા માટે ના ચાલ્યું. ઓકે,
જય સરે ખૂબ જ સાચી વાત કીધી. વિકાસ બી અને વિરાસત બી, એ જ શાંતિ. હવે આગળ we're opening the floor to questions for the vibrant youth of the nation. Yes. Aditya bhai, I think can someone from the team please come over and pass the mic?
I can.
Yeah. Oh, we have the audience mic.
So I'd like to bring a question on board. Ajay Umar sir કહ્યું કે તમે digital immigrant છો. Saib, I think majority of us are digital citizens and all of us are very well versed with the digital world. While we talk about the demographic dividend of the country and how disastrous it can be and how beneficial it can be in the span of years, we do not have a political representation when it comes to youth, and it will take years to build cadre in the current political framework. We are the anxious generation. Sir, through podcast only, I came across a reel where one of the guys said that while you did not know how your 50s are going to look like, we all know. We all know exactly what is midlife crisis, 9 to 5 job માં શું થવાનું છે, અમારી લાઈફ કેવી રીતે lead out થશે, we know. So we want disruption. We want some change of life, and that is why I think that today's youth will be the first people to enter politics if they have the right pathways to it. Rajvi can be a wonderful leader if she has the space for it. What are those defined spaces? Because ideologically connecting and then moving through that process is something that I don't think today's youth want to work on. We want political representation where a youth is standing talking about the points while us being able to converge in a confluence. Thank you so much, sir.
Just to, Varun, you can then formally take it over with the structure. But Aditya very, very, very nicely said. But see the confluence, like when I said that one line answer, the confluence, this is the step. You're not converging here or you're not being binded here. I step Jyathi, first you will come out being a part of what your views are. How you want that 50 year of India? How do you want the Viksit Bharat to be like? How do you want the journey from $13,000 per capita income to go through $43,000 per capita income? That's when you become developed. This is the gap that India has right now, 13,000 to 43,000. What is the HDI where we were? Ease of doing business from 142 to 64. But from 64 to 3, with the being largest economy, 5 to 3 થવું હોય, તો પછી સેમ વે આપણે ઇઝ ઓફ ડુઈંગ બિઝનેસમાં બી આગળ આવવું પડશે. આપણા જે ટાર્ગેટ છે, ડિજિટલ ઇન્ડિયા બનાવવું છે, મેક ઇન ઇન્ડિયા, આત્મનિર્ભર ઇન્ડિયા, બધાનું ફાઇનલ રિઝલ્ટ તો એ જ છે, વિકસિત ભારત. તો વિકસિત ભારતની જે આ જર્ની છે એમાં તમારે ભાગ લેવો હોય અને પોલિટિકલ સિસ્ટમમાં આવીને એમાં તમારે રિયલ ચેન્જ મેકર થવું હોય તો પહેલા સ્ટાર્ટ તો કોઈક એક જગ્યાએથી કરવું પડશે. ત્યાં તમારા વ્હાઇટ પેપર બનાવો. એટલે જ મેં કીધું કે આજે આપણે આ રૂમમાં આવીએ છીએ તો બધા, નોટ જસ્ટ ધ new generation coming in. This is not about you. This room is not about just you people. There are equal stakeholders who for the next 30 years also will be holding your hand and supporting you when you go out there. એ લોકો બી એ જ સપોર્ટમાં હશે ને. તમને જોઈશે તો ખરા ને આગળ જશો તો અમારા લોકોનો સપોર્ટ કોઈક બી રીતે. તો એ સપોર્ટ લેવા માટે તમારે લોકોએ એક એવો અવાજ ક્રિએટ કરવો પડશે થ્રુ સચ પ્લેટફોર્મ્સ that people like Varun Javeri then start getting you noticed. Then they ask you that there is a platform where you go and apply for your membership. Join the movements that are happening at Yuva Morcha, join the movements that are happening at various levels. There are platforms. Again, coming to, if you as a younger generation have not opened and been a part of those movements or the political networks or not registered yourself, તો પછી મોટા લોકો તો ઇમિગ્રન્ટ જ રહેવાના ને ડિજિટલના. આપણી સામે છે સ્કિલ ઇન્ડિયા યુનિવર્સિટીઝ. લોકોની કેટલી સ્કિલ ઇન્ડિયામાં અત્યારે યુનિવર્સિટીઝ થઈ રહી છે, સ્કિલના પ્રોગ્રામ્સ થઈ રહ્યા છે, વર્કશોપ્સ થઈ રહ્યા છે, પીએમ જય વિકાસ યોજના એન્ડ ઓલ ધીસ પ્લેટફોર્મ સાહેબ ક્રિએટ થઈ ગયા છે. એમાં સીટો ભરાતી નથી અને આ બાજુ એને એમ્પ્લોયમેન્ટની વાતો કરવી છે. ત્યાં રજીસ્ટ્રેશન નથી કરતા એ પ્લેટફોર્મ પર જઈને ગવર્મેન્ટના પોર્ટલ પર, અને આ બાજુ ગવર્મેન્ટની વાતો કરી છે, મનરેગાના બેનિફિટ લેવા છે. મનરેગા કોણ લેવું એની હું વાત નથી કરવા માંગતો. એટલે there is a gap of utilizing the platforms, and this is where this room has to make a difference of not passing the wrong information, getting onto the correct platforms, being a part of those things. આજનું white paper, that is why is very very important. અને અમે ચારે ચાર લોકો જોઈશું દર 3 મહિને આ રૂમમાં શું કરે છે બધા.
No, what he is saying is, my message to the youth is that, distinguish facts from fiction. You should be able to identify કે ફેક્ટ શું છે ને ફિક્શન શું છે. That is the beauty of, એટલા માટે જ ફેક્ટ ચેક કરીએ છીએ ને આપણે. Why government is saying that we must have fact check units. હવે તમે જુઓ કે Google હોય કે WhatsApp હોય કે Meta હોય, everybody has been asked કે you must have a fact check thing so that you can identify facts from fiction. That is the beauty of thing. And the whole thing જે ચિરંજીવીએ કીધું, વિકાસ જે છે ને એ સંતુલિત હોવો જોઈએ, સર્વગ્રાહી હોવો જોઈએ, સર્વ સમાવેશક હોવો જોઈએ અને સમાજના છેવાડાના માનવીનો હોવો જોઈએ. અમદાવાદમાં સારો વિકાસ છે, બરાબર છે, પણ એ પોતે કહે છે ને કે 30 કિલોમીટર દૂર બ્રોડબેન્ડ કનેક્શન નથી મળતું, એ ના ચાલે. એ જ હું કહું છું કે સમાજના છેવાડાના માનવીનો પણ વિકાસ થવો જોઈએ, તો જ જીડીપી અને એચડીઆઈ બંને સાથે વધવો જોઈએ. ધેટ ઇઝ ધ નીડ ફોર અવર. અને એ દિશામાં આપણે જઈએ છીએ. જે બોટલનેક્સ જે છે બ્યુરોક્રેટિક હોય કે બીજા બધા હર્ડલ્સ, એ તો લોકોએ સમાજ જાગૃત થશે ને તો બધું જ થઈ જશે.
અને સાહેબ એવું નથી કે બ્રોડબેન્ડ નથી મળતું, એ બ્રોડબેન્ડ નથી મળતું. આપણા દેશમાં 0 માંથી 70 થવા માટે જ આજે કોઈ ગવર્મેન્ટને 10 વર્ષ થઈ જાય છે. આપણો દેશ જ એટલો મોટો છે, એટલા બધા લોકો છે, 140 કરોડ લોકો છે. હવે એરપોર્ટ નતા એમાંથી આપણે આ 100 એરપોર્ટે પહોંચી ગયા. કેટલા હાઈવે હતા, અત્યારે આપણે દરરોજના 14 થી 18 કિલોમીટર હાઈવે બનાવી રહ્યા છે. એટલે એ સ્પેસ હેઝ ગોન વેરી ગુડ. આઈ મીન 38 kilometers, sir, right?
13.
So maybe from 14 to 38. So that speed is insane. But the problem is that we still have a lot to cover. And without the participation of citizenship, without the participation of youth, this will not be possible, guys.
So I think if
So
you could
jawabdari
conclude
tamari વધારે છે.
See, I
also,
will
if you
tell
could
you.
conclude this question briefly, let's take
Correct.
on to more questions.
See, it's a great question. Okay, I will tell you my personal experience. Politics and politicians are a reflection of the way society is. They are not coming from outside the society. They are a part of the society itself. I joined the party after doing my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. So there is no particular benchmark. And let me tell you that politics is not like a job. Okay, you will start as an associate, then become a manager, you become a senior manager. It's not like that. It is a journey in itself where the maximum thing that you will do is find yourself. And you also need to figure out what do you stand for. I will just give you one simple example. My party senior is sitting here, Pradeep Si sir. He has been home minister for n number of years, but he has that humility to listen very calmly because he has developed that patience. So when you join politics now, you can't think as a sprint. Okay, if I took my 10 ideas, nothing got implemented, or it's a journey, and you have to remain calm because it's a journey of a lot of long number of years. And you have to align yourself with a larger sort of a way the politics is set up. If you get into that, if you have ideas, if you are patient enough, after 5.5 years today, I can tell you a lot of my ideas get implemented. I'm very happy about that. I find a sense of purpose. So if your sense of purpose is in politics, this is the best time to join.
Thank you so much for this lovely question, and thank you so much for the lovely answers. Now, let's move on to next questions. Yes, Bapu.
Yeah, thank you. Because I'm still,
અહીંયા બાપુ કહેશે તો 50-100 ઉભા થશે.
I was wondering, I was looking here and there, but still that, at least this question I'm allowed to speak, so at least I'm relevant with the youth. So thank you for that. The first thing that I was observing when I was looking at the panel, and I saw that why there is no woman representation. But it makes us very proud that actually Raju is anchoring this whole thing, right? So congratulations for that. Two quick questions. So one is for the media and one is from the startup space. I work pretty much in the startup space, and I work as a bridge between Europe and India when it comes to entrepreneurship and innovation. So everywhere there needs to be a context. I remember that in our younger days, અમે લોકો સંદેશ છાપું વાંચતા હતા ને ચકોરનું એક આવતું હતું, કાર્ટૂન આવતું હતું કે આર.કે. લક્ષ્મણનું આવતું, which we no more see, which was satire against the policy, against the government, whatever it would be at that point of time. So that has changed. Today, somewhere, I feel that, there is also that gap between, that migration and that immigration thing, where you feel that, okay, media is so fast કે લોકોને હવે પ્રિન્ટ મીડિયા વાંચવામાં ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ જ નથી. If I read Ahmedabad Mirror at point of time, on the first day I see a headline, મહેફિલ પાર્ટી થઈ. Second day I see the news, gift city માં તો આલ્કોહોલને જબરજસ્ત સપોર્ટ કરવાનો છે. Why this dual face when it comes to media is one question. So what would you have done differently today if you were Vineet Jain, I would say, because ધંધો છે, media છે, journalism છે, that the youth would be attracted to read Ahmedabad Mirror again? કે સૌથી પહેલા સવારે ઉઠી અને મિરર વાંચવા દો. આજે છાપું કાં તો બેસવા માટે વાંચીએ છીએ, કાં તો તમારો દિવસ કેવો હશે મિરર એના માટે વાંચીએ, એનાથી વધારે કશું છે નહીં. કાં તો પોલીસ સમાચાર મારા ફાધર બહુ વાંચતા હોય છે. That is one question. And another quick question for Varun sir is, when it comes to policies, what I have seen is that there is still a very inherent fear about international investors who want to come to India. They still fear that it may be bureaucracy, it may be process, diversity, and all of these things prevail. But they're afraid, still very, very afraid to come into India. So when we talk about Startup India, the policy is fantastic, leadership is great, intent is terrific. But how far it has reached to a certain level where a lot of CEOs are coming back to India, but a lot of innovators are leaving India because of lack of support at innovation level and at research level. I'm sure there are large policies coming up and a lot of that is happening. But what is the level of transparency that true innovators really get that capital? So I think these are the two questions that I have.
Just
Thank
a
you.
note of importance, if we could keep the answers precise and to the
Yeah.
point, so we can get more questions as
Yes,
well.
yes. So Bapu, I can call you Bapu. And Jai Mataji. In Mirror, in Ahmedabad Mirror, we are simply showing mirror to the society. And you won't believe કે પ્રદીપસિંહજી અમે જ્યારે છાપામાં લખ્યું કે હવે ગિફ્ટ સિટીમાં દારૂ જે છે એ સસ્તા ભાવે મળશે, એ તો ગવર્મેન્ટનું ઓફિશિયલ નોટિફિકેશન હતું. પણ you would not believe, people were so happy to read it. It was the most shared, most discussed, and most distributed news on social media platform ke boss cheers હવે કે gift city ની membership લેવાય, because then people have done cost benefit analysis કે people have done cost benefit analysis that પહેલા એક એમ કે સિંગલ મોલ્ટ નો ભાવ 700 રૂપિયા હતો, હવે કે 340 થઈ ગયો. boss, very good news. And you would not believe, sir, અમદાવાદ મિરર ની એ સ્ટોરી આજે ગુજરાત સમાચાર, સંદેશ, ભાસ્કર બધાએ ફોલોઅપ કરી છે સાહેબ. તો આઈ એમ હેપી કે મારી સ્ટોરીનું ફોલોઅપ થયું. પરમ દિવસે રાત્રે 2 પ્લેન ઇન્ડિગોના અને એર ઇન્ડિયાના આમને સામને આવી ગયા. એ સ્ટોરી માત્ર મિરરમાં પેજ 3 પર લીડ હતી ને નવ ગુજરાતમાં, કારણ કે અમારું સિસ્ટમ એમાં હતી. આજે બધા છાપાએ ફોલોઅપ કરી. છાપામાં તો શું છે સર, કે જે મેં કહ્યું ને કે સોશિયલ મીડિયામાં વાય એલોન મસ્ક એન્ડ એવરીબડી ઇઝ બાઇંગ, because they want engagement. એ ઇન્ટરનેટને મેક્સિમમ યુઝ કરવા માંગે છે, because they want to make money out of it. એટલે આમાં એવું છે કે દાવોસમાં છે ને ચિરંજીવી, મેં ન્યુયોર્ક ટાઈમ્સના પબ્લિશરને પૂછ્યું કે સર વોટ વિલ બી ધ ફ્યુચર ઓફ પ્રિન્ટ મીડિયા. because my readers are migrating from print to electronic and from electronic to smartphones. He said, I am not bothered. If eyeballs are migrating from print to electronic and from electronic to smart platforms, he said New York Times will have a digital edition and digital applications. બરાબર છે એટલે શું છે કે એડવર્ટાઇઝર તો ત્યાં પણ આવીને એડવર્ટાઇઝમેન્ટ આપવાનો જ છે. પણ સાહેબ હું તમને સાચું કહું કે ગિફ્ટ સિટીની એડવર્ટાઇઝમેન્ટ મૂકી કે હવે દારૂ ગિફ્ટ સિટીમાં સસ્તો મળશે તો બીજા દિવસથી એપ્લિકેશન વધી ગઈ છે.
મારો સવાલ હતો, how would you do differently that the youth will read this? Not the daru.
સમજી ગયો? પણ આ દારૂમાં તો એવું છે ને સર કે જો દિખતા હે વો બિકતા હે. બટ એટ my personal philosophy about journalism is that the job of a journalist is when I started my career, I said that I want to become gatekeeper of the society. Then I thought that I'll be the watchdog in the society. Today with the penetration of internet, okay, the only thing that we are left with is credibility. So if you read newspaper, you will find news with credibility. And in social media, I can't give you guarantee because they publish anything, they get away, they delete things from their platform. In newspaper, I can't do this. એટલે યુધિષ્ઠિરે છે ને એક વાક્યમાં કહ્યું હતું અને મને કેવું ટૂંકમાં જવાબ આપવાનો કે જીવનમાં એક જ વખત એને નરોવા કુંજરોવા કર્યું હતું અને એનો રથ જે છે ને જે જમીનથી 4 વેત અધ્ધર ચાલતો હતો ને એ ધ્વસ્ત થઈ ગયો હતો. એટલે પત્રકાર જે અત્યારે પ્રિન્ટ મીડિયાનો છે ને એની પાસે માત્ર ક્રેડિબિલિટી જ વધી છે. એટલે ઇટ ઇઝ હિઝ ડ્યુટી to say that if king is naked, he has to say કે એને દિશાઓના વસ્ત્ર પહેર્યા છે એવું નહીં જ કે. He says કે his excellency was not adequately dressed. That is what in simple words or in a refined words I can say. But my job is to tell truth to the society.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, very in very brief on the policy question. So I think from the investor perspective, I think what they fear are two things. One is that they are irritated by the old laws which are not applicable, and second is that there is a fear of unknown, which is policy inconsistency and all, right? So what needs to be done, and what the government also done, if you look at the Jan Vishwas, we scraped out 1,000 laws. There are laws which were there from 1830s. કે તમારે જો કપડાની મિલમાં લાયસન્સ રીઅપ્રૂવ કરવા હોય તો you have to follow this process. No one wants to get into that, right? So one is that we need to constantly keep updating all the old colonial laws to ensure that our legislation, like a superb example is the IBC, which is for the solvency. For investor, that is the basic thing. If the company goes bankrupt, you can get back your capital. And the second is that we would need to venture into the unknown. A great example is like privatization of space and nuclear plants. No country in the world has really attempted a policy of this magnitude, but we did it. So there are also a lot of very interesting things that are going on. So we need to constantly keep innovating, and I feel that is where a lot of professional private societies, civil societies will come into play, because government doesn't have that sectoral key expertise. So I think that is what needs to be done.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir, on the back. Yes, you. Yes.
So last year, social media was banned in Australia, and recently even the United Kingdom that they will be banning social media for everybody below the age of 16. You mentioned that media is a pillar of society now, and considering the skeptical views of social media among elders in India, do you believe that the government should follow the steps of the other countries and ban social media for youngsters also? Or should they go away from the pattern, and why do you think they shouldn't ban it? It's for any of the panelists that can answer it.
It is need of the hour that this social media platform should be banned, if not if not under 16, at least under 14, because that exposure, her concern was that what about critical thinking? If at the age of 5 or 7, if you start using using ChatGPT for doing homework, it will not develop your critical thinking. So I think for children, for developing their critical thinking, they should not be allowed to use social media platforms, particularly this artificial intelligence and other things. It would kill your thinking process. And that is the reason I strongly believe, and I think state of Karnataka has started initiative in that direction, and other states also may follow. I strongly believe that it should be done. It is need of the hour.
Sir, again,
at least it should be regulated.
Sir, I slight contradiction. અમારી બી જવાબદારી, આપણા બધાની બી જવાબદારી at parents also, that increases. Sir, my son is 14 years. He now got an access to social media, but છેલ્લા 3 વર્ષથી he has an account of social media where એ ખાલી વિડીયોઝ રેકોર્ડ કરે છે એના ફોનમાં. એટલે અમે લોકો એની વિડીયોઝ રેકોર્ડ કરીએ છીએ અને એના અકાઉન્ટ પર મૂકીએ છીએ. હવે વિડીયોઝ આર ઓન ટેક, their videos are on information, their videos are on a country or wherever he visits. એક જસ્ટ જનરલ એને બોલવાની પ્રેક્ટિસ કરાવવા માટે, એને ગમે છે, એને he likes it, તો એના માટે અમે એનું પેજ બનાવ્યું. હવે એને પેજ આ વર્ષે જોયું પહેલા, તો અમે પેરેન્ટ્સ તરીકે એને કરવા ના દીધો. એનો એડવાન્ટેજ કહું સાહેબ, એ બોલતો ગયો અને બધું કરતો ગયો ને એના લીધે અને ટેકનોલોજીના યુઝના લીધે અત્યારે ધ ઓનરેબલ હોમ મિનિસ્ટર ઓફ આર કન્ટ્રી અમિતભાઈ શાહ સાહેબે, અધર પીપલ લાઈક ગૌતમ અદાની સાહેબ ને બધાએ, they have personally met him and called him over to just discuss, because at the age of 14 his mission had become કે મારે ચાઇનીઝ કંપની સાથે કમ્પીટ કરવું છે અને મારે ઇન્ડિયન પ્રોડક્ટ્સ ઇન્ડિયન લોકો માટે. So he started his tech company where everything is under 1,000 rupees. Your AirPods, power banks, phones, chargers, everything is under 99.99, which is SwiftMart. And the only mission that boy has had, because of this talking and making videos and understanding, એ ટેકનોલોજી હોત ને તો થાત જ નહીં. આપણે કેટલું કંટ્રોલ કરીએ છીએ એ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે. અને ટુડે ઇઝ મેકિંગ વેબસાઇટ્સ ફોર સ્ટાર્ટઅપ કંપનીઝ, કે આ સ્ટાર્ટઅપ કર્યું હોય તો વેબસાઇટ અને એપ્લિકેશન બનાવવું બહુ જરૂરી છે કોઈનો માટે. તો 15,000 રૂપિયામાં બિચારો વેબસાઇટ અને એની સેવા આપે છે. કેમ? કારણ કે મારે આ કંપનીઝને સપોર્ટ કરો છો. હું તો નવું નહીં કરી શકું, પણ મને આવડે છે બનાવતા. તો he's learnt making websites and startup, and he's doing this for 15,000 rupees.
I think to sum up both these viewpoints,
Just one
Yes.
point as somebody who belongs to social media.
definitely.
So I absolutely agree with you that it must be banned for kids under the age of 16. Why? Because as somebody who knows algorithm clinically, right, it messes with your brain, right, in ways that we can't imagine. It puts you in constant validation seeking loop that you can never get out of. Number one. Number two, it gets you addicted to the screen where you are watching any random stuff, right? What your child would think 5 years down the line, only 5 entrepreneurs sitting in the US are deciding, right? They are creating clones. They're creating clones of each user of social media. And God knows what they will do with those clones. Those are like digital duplicates, right? So for children, it's a very dangerous thing. There needs to definitely be information media for kids. There is a need of platforms that children can use to consume and to get access to information. In our days in school, like whenever we had a project or we had to go and speak on the stage, we used to visit the library, pull out books, get our references, and used to prepare our speeches. Right? For kids, it has become easier, but that needs to transfer to information media. And not just social media, I would say access to AI also needs to be banned, because it completely kills your critical thinking. It kills your articulation skills. And when I say kill, I use that word with a lot of responsibility. It literally kills it. So I have a very strong opinion on it. It must be banned.
ડેફિનેટલી ટેકનોલોજી એક એવું વિષ છે ને એવું એક અમૃત છે જે આપણે અગર સાવધાનીથી કેળવીએ તો એનું સદુપયોગ પણ થઈ શકે અને દુરુપયોગ પણ થઈ શકે. તો I think children and people of our age and young students should know both the pros and cons and be mindful. Again, think critically about where to use it, how to use it, and for what purpose to use it. Next and last question. I think we'll take 2 more questions then. Vishwam.
So first,
Vigor, that is the vigor of the youth of this nation. So I think it speaks volumes.
so first of all, can we have a round of applause for Raju and the entire team of the Confluence for organizing this event? So being a psychology student, my question would revolve around the idea of nuance. कि मुझे परसेप्शन लोगों का क्या होता है वो जानने में इंटरेस्ट बहुत ज्यादा रहता है. सो आई थिंक एवरी वन ऑफ यू ऑन द पैनल, ऑनरेबल गेस्ट लाइक वरुण सर है, अजय सर है, चिरंजीव सर और जय सर. सो आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क कि अगर हम कुछ डेकेड्स पहले हम अगर देखते कि क्या होता है, क्या कैसे क्या पॉलिटिकल डिस्कोर्स रहता है, देन वी वुड ऑब्जर्व एन इंपॉर्टेंट डिटेल विच वाज कि आइडियाज से आइडियोलॉजीज बनती है. बट व्हेन वी सी राइट नाउ कि अजय सर आप और जय सर आपने तो इतना इंटरेक्शन किया है युवाओं के साथ और लोगों के साथ, तो आपको पता होगा कि अब आइडियोलॉजीज से आइडियाज बनते हैं. सो हाउ a vast democracy like India, जिसमें 1.5 billion से भी ज्यादा लोग हैं, can function effectively when its
population, when its citizens are especially designed or conditioned to view complex policy issues from the binary perspective of ideological clarity. That was my first question, because youth of today are leaders of tomorrow. So I would end with this कि अगर आज के यूथ का पॉलिसी का जो आउटलुक है, उनका जो पर्सपेक्टिव है, वही पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड या आइडियोलॉजिकली स्क्यूड होगा, तो फ्यूचर में जब वो लीडर बनेंगे और जब वो पॉलिसी मेक करेंगे, तो वो एक हर्डल रूप भी बन सकता है व्हेन वी रीच द 100th anniversary of our independence. So how can we tackle that?
I'll keep a very, very brief answer to this. I have a lot more confidence than that on our youth, that they will not look at things from a binary lens. Once they grow and evolve and consume more information, get access to more perspectives and insights, I think they will figure out, what is the best for them and for the country. So I have a lot of confidence in today's youth that they're smart enough to understand and decode what is what. So I don't think that as a challenge.
Is why I was advocating for youth should be under 16 should not be given. Very rightly he has said that artificial intelligence, it will literally hijack your neuro thinking. And B, you will end up with at fatigue level of decision making. Take example of Cambridge Analytica, what they have done in UK, at the time of Brexit.
US 2016 election. US.
I can give you 10 other examples. US election 2016, they use bots with the help of Russia. I am not talking about that. I am talking about Cambridge Analytica's experiment with Brexit in UK. They wanted Britain to exit out of European Union, and they use this technique by creating, I'll use a very strong word coined by Noam Chomsky, one of the finest thinker of this world. He said that manufacturing consent in society in such a way that do micro targeting of youth, and that is what they did. They curated data from Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp, and targeted only youth. And because of that referendum took place in UK, it was not the University of Cambridge or Oxford people. They have taken decision. The decision was taken by referendum, and 52 versus 48. They lost it. And today, see the Britain, which was considered to be one of the today, look at their plight. So they can manufacture consent in society, and that is the reason that AI ML is very, very dangerous. Even Donald Trump has said that now we should put a ban or pause on it. At least pause is the right word, because yesterday only I was reading in a journal that Anthropics has reached into the most confidential places in American institutes, which is very, very dangerous for them also. Thank you.
It's a very in-depth, but let me just try putting it in 2 lines. One, ideology will always stay intact. Ideas will always evolve. At a fundamental level, ideology is values. We still seek values and ideology from Prabhu Ram in Ramayana and from Mahabharata. The ideas about how the situations will keep evolving. So even in political journey, find your ideological compass of yourself and the movement that you want to join. If there is no ideology, it is just a hollow blank slate. So that is how you need to find it.
Thank you so much. So let's do one thing. We cannot extend the time more than 5 minutes. Your question should be of one line straight, and the answers can take 3-4 lines max, point to point. One line. One line question, one line answer. You have the mic. Yes.
I want to apologize beforehand. It's definitely not going to be a one-liner. Hi. So first off, thank you so much for this panel. And my question is particularly for Varun sir. I have a vested interest in this. I'm a doctor and I'm transitioning to health policy and economics research. So you mentioned there is a subject matter gap, right? When we're making policy, there's not enough space to engage people who possibly have, let's say, expertise or maybe even people with lived experience. So what spaces are there? Suppose there are young people, people from marginalized communities, people with not not as much access or representation. What apolitical spaces do we have to engage with the governance? And for instance, if we look at the European Union, we have a lot of youth delegate programs where we have people who are not particularly affiliated with a party, but they still engage with policy making and decisions. So how do we engage civil society better, and particularly young people and underrepresented communities? And this is obviously open to everybody else. And again, phenomenal panel and wonderful moderation by Rajiv. Thank you.
So it's a great question. Again, to just keep it very brief, lived experience, worked in Ayushman Bharat for close to 4.5 years. So health insurance, very complicated, very difficult subject. Almost everything that came to table came from private sector, people who joined the government as consultants, who were, masters in actuary or, masters in public health, brought the best global practices, because bureaucrats, they understand administration, right? But the subject matter expertise comes from consultant. We also did a young professionals program. Most of the YPs that we have right now, they will end up working in like a World Bank or a ADB and all those, different types of revenue. So the subject matter expertise, the government is filling it quite well. And these are the type of roles that, that are just out there because the government knows that it needs this type of expertise.
Can I just add a second layer to the question? What about local institutional governance? All of this is very high level, but suppose if you want to engage with, let's say, the municipal corporation, we're not happy with the roads, or we're not happy with the way, maybe a flyover is broken down somewhere and there's nothing we can do about it. So how can we as the youth more proactively engage with these institutions to drive governance forward in a more productive way?
So, again, Jay and I, we discussed this very extensively in one of the recordings. So I think we both have a common consensus that cities are the biggest driver of where India is going to be. And I think corporations are the one that requires the maximum amount of support. I think there is an urgent need where they need to start such type of fellowship programs to get young people. And now they can also do, because in this latest budget, there is this municipal corporation bond financing. So you can start this program, you can get the capital from outside, you can involve, young folks, private sector specialists. I think if you want to transform India drastically, your cities are going to be the drivers. So I think, and I know AMC is AMC is doing a lot of AI projects, by the way. So I think AMC is a good place to probably start with, for the local governance.
Thank you.
Moving forward. Yes, Kalp.
I'll just end it quick. In India, there are a lot of professions which are very much respected. Doctors, engineers, people aspire to be those professions. But when we see in policy, media, so when you are looking at politicians, journalists, so what you hear, that media person has been sold to a party, that politician is dirty. So how can the youth, so youth will be fed what others are trying to feed. In this cockroach thing also, there are a lot of good things on the internet, but with the thing which will be acceptable, which will be taken by the youth. So khali this thing ki how can the youth ensure ki they are going in the right way?
One line answer. Mahatma Gandhi has said, be the change that you want to bring in the society. You be a good journalist, you be a good politician. Okay?
The one at the right back. Yes, you. I think they've stayed so long. I think they deserve to ask a question.
So thank you again. It has been a very great evening, and we have got a lot of answers to the questions we have been thinking. But something that I have been wanting to ask is that even though the government is executing on a lot of important policies, one thing that all of us almost experience and we think and we are told every day is that the government is not very approachable. કે જો તને લાયસન્સ જોઈએ તો તારે 5 થી 6 ધક્કા તો ખાવા જ પડશે. So this is one problem that has been plaguing all of us. So how can this be solved and to make the government more approachable in terms of approaching for problems that people want to be solved?
આખા કોન્ફ્લુઅન્સ બેટા તે જે સવાલ પૂછ્યો ને તું તે જે બોલ્યું ને એમાં જવાબ આવી ગયો બધાનો મીડિયાથી લઈને પહેલેથી લઈને છેલ્લા ક્વેશ્ચન જે હું કહેવા માંગુ છું. We have been told. Have you tried going on a government platform or a portal, writing about it, applying for something and 6 ધક્કા ખાવા પડ્યા?
હા એટલે
શેમાં?
મેં જ્યારે લાયસન્સની એપ્લિકેશન કરી છે તો મારી પોતાની જોડે એ થયું છે
શેમાં?
કે for applying for license, first of all, the website is not very informative. It takes a lot of time to process the information, and it is very
RTO ની વાત
ambiguous.
કરે છે.
And then you also need to go to the RTO. Even then, there it takes a lot of time, almost.
ગાડી ડ્રાઈવ તો કરવી પડશે ને, લાયસન્સ પહેલા મળી જતું હતું. હવે એવું છે કે આપણે ટેસ્ટ આપવો જ પડે છે, એમાં નથી ચાલતું કોઈનું.
But still,
RTO માં પ્રોબ્લેમ છે, હું પણ માનું છું, અને we also write frequently about
I would say
એમાં કોઈ છુપાવા જેવું છે જ નહીં. મજાની વાત એ છે કે મોસ્ટ ઓફ ધ ટાઈમ એનું સર્વર ડાઉન હોય છે, બરાબર ને?
bureaucracy and subject matter experts.
Thank you.
Bureaucracy
so much.
needs to be more efficient.
But
So this
barring
is
that-
this is wasting time of citizens, right?
Exactly.
And it's a criminal thing, right? They feel that we have endless time. So I think that needs to change and right subject. So there needs to be somebody in the department who understands UI, who understands UX, who understands servers, right? And I'm sure there's nobody who understands all of this in that department.
પણ દોસ્ત
So that
તમને
needs to
કહું,
change.
એક સેકન્ડ જય, બારિંગ RTO, હું તમને કહું કે અત્યારે મ્યુનિસિપલ કોર્પોરેશનમાં તમે જાઓ તો જન્મનો દાખલો, મરણ, એવરીથિંગ યુ કેન ગેટ ઓન વેબસાઇટ. એ બહુ સારું થઈ ગયું છે. ઇવન હું તમને કહું રેવન્યુ ડિપાર્ટમેન્ટમાં હું જ્યારે ક્રિટિસાઇઝ કરું તો મને સાચું હોય કહેવાનો પણ અધિકાર છે. RTO માં પ્રોબ્લેમ છે, પણ તમે રેવન્યુ ડિપાર્ટમેન્ટમાં જાઓ, 7/12 નો ઉતારો પહેલા નહોતું, એટલી
એના
ટ્રાન્સફર
માટે અલગ પેનલ ટોક છે આખી. એના માટે અલગ પેનલ ટોક છે.
એના મળી જાય છે. એટલે પોઝિટિવ છે, પોઝિટિવ છે.
One small.
Yes.
I will just tell one small this thing because this websites and design, we need to understand that this website, whichever is there, why are government websites basic? Think about that. Why are the government websites basic? Because not only us who are very internet savvy, but there are also people who do not know only how to navigate. That is the reason why their websites are very basic. But should it function absolutely properly? 100% yes. There is no doubt only, right? But the way to think about this is that what used to happen before 5 years? Are we in a better position? A lot of times the thing is that we have a expectation that the same level of experience for which you are paying to the private sector, the government will deliver the same thing, but there are a lot of constraints. And I'm just telling you as a realistic thing. But what you said is right, that there needs to be more and more ease of governance. So we need to keep on striving and working for that. And that itself is an opportunity.
Guys, a question, because we have so many youngsters. Has anyone opened the Gujarat state ની જે એડમિશન વેબસાઇટ છે, જીકાસ જેને કહે છે, આ વર્ષે કોઈ ખોલી છે? કોણે ખોલી છે? હમણાં રિસેન્ટલી ખોલી છે? શું થઈ શકે વિકાસ? અને આપણે આ બધી AI ને બધી વાતો કરી છે સાહેબ, AI નું સાચું, you also, Varun, if you have not done, please go and open the Gujarat admission, and what can change come, what can young people come and do? મને iHub માં લીધો, we worked on this project, અને must go and see. જેને એડમિશન થી કોઈ લેવા દેવા નથી, આજે ગુજરાત સ્ટેટ એડમિશન ની સાહેબ વેબસાઇટ જોજો ખોલીને, ત્યાં એક બટન છે AI નું ટોક ફોર ધીસ, ખાલી ટોક કરેલું બટન છે, ચાલુ કરજો. એમને બોલજો કે આટલા પર્સન્ટેજ આવ્યા છે, એડમિશન લેવું છે, સામે કઈ રીતે જવાબ મળે છે, કઈ રીતે એ AI તમારી સાથે વાત કરે છે, કઈ રીતે લેટેસ્ટ આજ દિન સુધીની ઇન્ફોર્મેશન, હું રોજ ચેક કરું છું એટલે કહું છું, કઈ રીતે ઇન્ફોર્મેશન આપે છે, કેટલી કોલેજમાં હવે તમને આ પર્સન્ટેજ એડમિશન મળી શકે એમ ચાન્સ છે, એની ફીસ શું છે, નેક્સ્ટ રાઉન્ડ ક્યારે થવાનો છે, તમારા કેટલા ચાન્સ છે, અને એટલું બી ટ્રાય કરજો. ઓકે, કોઈ લાગવગથી એડમિશન મળી શકે છે, કોઈ પૈસા ખવડાવીને, તો બી જોજો કે AI શું જવાબ આપે છે. So these are the small changes that are coming in, and these are the public private partnership changes also coming in, because we involved as the education department a brilliant $1 billion company from Gujarat, which is like unicorn from Gujarat, જેને આપણે લાયા, એને આખું કરવા દીધું education department, and they have come out with a model which is brilliant, and I'm proud that we have incubated that.
ચિરંજીવ, એમાં તો મુકેશ કુમારની હાજરીમાં એક જણાએ સવાલ પૂછ્યો કે જો CM ની ઓળખાણ હોય તો મને આ કોલેજમાં એડમિશન મળે?
હું હતો
તો
એમાં
એને
સાહેબ.
કીધું, હા, એ કે CM કેમ તોય ના મળે.
અર્જુનભાઈ મોઢવાડિયાને અમે લઈને ડીપટેક AI સ્ટાર્ટઅપ્સ નું સેશન કર્યું, તો એમાં હું પૂછ્યું, and it is recorded, the reel is quite famous.
Yes, ma'am. Right back, yes. And this will be the last question. Samayni Maryada Rakhina. We've exceeded 15. But yes.
Thank you so much. Well,
the only topic I felt that was not touched, that while we think that government schools should be the benchmark for education here, the quality of education and the accessibility. See, even India has put policies to get into government schools for the less privileged people, like the midday meal scheme. But as we know, midday meal schemes have not only been disappointing, but nowadays it has just gone. Midday meals have disappeared, and as well as government schools quality education has gone. So how can we expect that government education will be the benchmark in the future? Varun sir and
It
Janal sir
does
can
need a lot of change. There is no way that I have said in any of the things that my personal opinion ke bhai change nathi aayo. Aayo છે શું is very, very important. And there is a lot of space yet we need to cover. I have heard this, I mean, at various platforms regarding midday meal. I think the government should take a serious note because this is a repeated thing I've been hearing also. So ground level realities actually need to be checked. I completely agree because repeatedly I've been hearing this at various platforms regarding. And yes, as far as government schools are concerned, no matter what we have to do it. They have to be accessible. If there are private schools which are getting platforms, there are private schools. I'm very, very involved with the schooling and the education department also. As many private schools we are making, it is very, very important to make sure that the right kind of experts, the right kind of industry partners, the right kind of CSR money, the right kind of public private partnership of corporates who really want to contribute have to earn. And let us come out with some model schools which can actually come out as one of those model schools in India where, let's say, a top corporate and the government, let's say AMC here in our case, for example, come together to create a one of its kind world class school જે બધી private સ્કૂલોને શરમાવે. કેમ એવું ના થઈ શકે? It's hardly, sir, a matter of 20, 30, 40 crore rupees that the corporate has to pledge with the AMC in a 80, 20, 70, 30 partnership. And it can be done. I think make a model out of this, use the AI platforms, create a brilliant paper and write and publish it wherever you want. I'm sure you will get a lot of
Thank
traction.
you so much, sir.
He mentioned about public-private partnership and CSR budgets. 2017, I visited a village called Junjuna in Rajasthan,
Yes,
which is the birth village of Anand Piramal ji. And Piramal runs a huge CSR program on developing the government schools and also developing the teachers. From then to now, there's a huge transformation. Those schools that I've seen in Junjuna were in pathetic state. From then to now, I've visited recently, some government schools. There is a lot of change that has happened. Now, what is happening is government is doing its work. They are allocating budgets. They're creating policies. But as I said, this ownership, the teachers at the ground level, the bureaucrats at the ground level, the experts at the ground level, all of them need to feel and take the ownership of it and really deliver what the government and society expects from them. I think that is not happening.
Yes, sir. The accountability has to be there.
I just want to take a slightly different sort of a take on this, right? I feel we need to reinvent the way society looks at a teacher. My biggest challenge, because I've spent 2 years as a full-time teacher. Okay. When I became a full-time teacher, it was a fellowship. But the society around me thought that I have not been able to do anything in my career. That's why I became a teacher. I think teacher is the most fundamentally important profession if we want to take our country to the next level of development.
Yes, sir.
So the way a teacher is treated in the society, the way we give them the respect, the way their incentives have been structured, if we keep our teachers respected, motivated, and engaged, they will produce the best possible quality outcomes in the country. So it is all about getting the teachers and ensuring that they are empowered at every level. There are a lot of initiatives being done, but I feel that this is one topic that we need to start revamping it again.
Yes, sir. As my own mom is a teacher, so I have seen it on the levels that how CBSE takes their own actions upon how to make teachers more relevant and aware of what to do with the youth. So I believe that there should be much more improvement in that. The agenda of making these courses to improve teachers' education and their impact on students should be more.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I would take a minute to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Varun sir, Ajay sir, Chiranjeev sir, and Jai sir. A heartfelt gratitude to the audience that we have here today. The usher brilliance and rigor with which all of us have come up with our concerns and our dilemmas and presented here on the stage is just absolutely brilliant. And this energy, the power of the youth, has what has made this event a resounding success. I would also like to thank my team of 14 students, young school students, who have pulled off this event. You have, each one of you, my team, you have truly taken this event to another level. We have started up at a notch and we will kick it up another notch in the next edition. Thank you so much.
I think what you said, Rajvi, really couldn't have been said better for this wonderful event that you put up. I would again like to thank all of you as well for being here, but also especially to Rajvi for giving all of us this opportunity to even be a part of something like this. So I think a big round of applause for Rajvi. I think before we close, we'd like to place on record our deepest gratitude to the AMA and the Ahmedabad Management Association and Shri Unmesh Dikshit and Himani ma'am. Thank you for your unwavering support so that we could do something like this.
We would also like to thank our media broadcast partner, VTV News, our event documentation partner, Mainframe Multimedia, for capturing the essence of this event.
And again, a huge thank you to all our panelists. So may we please have a huge round of applause for all of them.
નોર્મલી છે ને પેનલિસ્ટ માટે લોકો તાલી બજાવે પણ અત્યારે અમે ઊભા થઈને ચારે જણ અને ઇન્ક્લુડિંગ રાજવી વી ગીવ અ સ્ટેન્ડિંગ ઓવેશન ટુ ધીસ ઓડિયન્સ.
रुक त्यांना घेऊ द्या. कशाला सगळे